As far as what's happening, do we have a blast off meme? Because I would I would do it. Important message from the pluribus creator.
It's plurbin time. It's plurbin time.
What?
It's plurbin time.
That's not appropriate. Those warm colors on your sweater complement your skin tone amazingly. Thank you. Please don't die. I don't want to hear I pop my piker. Yeah. No, I have to stay alive. I have to stay alive. I have to stay alive. Yeah, I saw bro chat set you up again. Yeah. I'm not gonna be using this as a blast off meme. Does anyone have a blast off meme? Abilities: hydro breath, bodily liquids generation, birthplace Los Angeles, produces water spontaneously through his body, crippling social anxiety, easily threatened, lives with his grandmother. Crimes: aggravated assault, extortion, first degree murder, kidnapping, and stalking. Yeah. You guys did actually cook me. Okay? You cooked me with it, but it's fine. I'm never gonna stop getting mad about water boy, water bitch. Okay? Water bitch. Oh shit. Yeah, I'm never gonna stop getting mad about water bitch and how chat did me dirty on water bitch, making me get water bitch instead of Phenomena Man, my autistic king, who I cucked. Anyway, here's the blast off meme, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get right into it. There's not a lot more to cover on in terms of personal news in my life. Obviously, Kaya's been at the park. I believe she just got back from the park. I still have yet to watch Heated Rivalry, which is, a testament to how real I am about my homophobia. I hope people understand that, I kind of need you and Anthony Joshua in a room for research. Why? So we can kiss? Is that what you want? Huh? I mean, I do think Anthony Joshua is very cool. I have no way of contacting him because he's in England, and everybody knows if you're a celebrity in England, then you don't have access to the internet, the same internet that we Americans have access to. So that's kind of the situation here. Did I miss your health update? How's your neck? My Kirk is not the best. It definitely is tight. It's partially because I did upper body yesterday, and also my ankle's a little bit better. Are you yaoi baiting, Chad, with boy kisser memes? Unkbot is intensifying. Yeah. We're unk status. We're unk status. You just have to get with it. It's just unk status. Anyway, all right, here it is. Here's the blast off meme. We're gonna dive right into it. Obviously, we have hella shit to cover. Did you finish Gachiakuta? No, I haven't. I have not. You see Clinton calling out the Epstein files? Yes, of course I have. Of course. Of course I have. I like to call it mutually assured pedophilia destruction. It's the mad principle, but for pedophilia. Something that I called out from afar a couple months prior to this was that there was a likelihood that Donald Trump was actually going to hit the Bill Clinton line. He was just going to be like, look, like the Trump DOJ was most likely going to dangle Bill Clinton as red meat for his base, with the hopes that it will get them to pay attention to Bilbo Clinton here, and then that would be enough for them. Obviously, it hasn't been all that successful. This, look, well, Bill Clinton is all over the files and not my big, beautiful president, because they botched it. They botched the coverage. They botched the release. They fucked it up. They very clearly applied a heavy-handed redaction, as I told you already. And also on top of that, on top of the botch release, on top of the botch release, they ended up kind of fucking up the redactions too. They ended up botching the redactions. Apparently, some of the redactions are unredacted. They have released files in the past. The Department of Justice released files in the past that were unredacted that had Trump's name all over them. But now they're releasing the very same files. Where they are redacting Trump's name. And it makes us, obviously, it makes everybody realize that, no, they're just like first and foremost invested in what we all suspected, which is preserving Donald Trump's name and protecting Donald Trump. And it's very cynical because they're claiming that they're doing this in an effort to protect the victims, right? But like I said, Bilbo Clinton came out and was like, it's time. It's mutually assured pedophilia destruction. He hit the button and he said, hey, put it all out there, King. Let your nuts hang. I've seen those nuts. You know, it's Bubba time. You know, mutually assured pedophile destruction. That's how it is. You already know. It's all happening, baby. And it's fucking glorious. Okay. It's all happening and it's absolutely glorious. So, tons of redaction covers financials. They molested the money. Oh yeah. I mean, they were molesting everything out here. They were molesting the money. They were molesting what is this? There's a $10 billion debt industry by CoffeeZilla. CoffeeZilla, my goat. Another banger video. Maybe we'll look at this in a little bit. Okay. But I digress. Let's get right into it. There's some fake news that came out. Not fake news necessarily, but there was some news that duped a lot of people. Letter signed by Jay Epstein to Larry Nassar, cites our president. And I saw that a lot of people actually dove into that head first, which I think separates the boys from the men in terms of the conspiracy stuff, right? Because if the Larry Nassar, let's just start here. Let's just start with the Department of Justice releasing a new trove of Epstein files. And we'll get right into it. Okay. But once again, don't trust anything. Okay. Don't immediately trust something if it's so convenient of a narrative. If it's too convenient of a narrative that you saw, that you have seen, don't automatically trust it. Be critical. Okay. There are a lot of well-intentioned people who might actually get duped in the process because there's a lot of information coming out. And this is perhaps one of the being left is so funny because you spend the first decades of your life trying to prevent a violent workers' revolution to preserve as much life as possible, and for what? I don't know what you're talking about. But in any case, let's get started.
Overnight, under pressure, the Department of Justice releasing thousands more Jeffrey Epstein files, the most substantial dump of documents so far, including never-before-seen investigative materials. In this email from the day after Epstein was arrested on charges of sex trafficking minors.
Okay, before we actually get to the new trove of data, it would be a disservice for me not to give you a heads up. Okay? It would be a disservice for me not to give you a heads up. Because I also work for the Department of Justice now. And as someone who works for the Department of Justice, I have to tell you guys, okay? Listen. Trump's name is all over the files that we're about to release, okay? And I'm obviously one of the paralegals that is now tasked with doing social media at the Department of Justice. So my supervisors tasked me with crafting a tweet, okay? They tasked me with typing up a tweet because obviously my primary job and the primary job of the Department of Justice right now is not to actually like defend the victims or uncover certain truths about Jeffrey Epstein or whatever. It's actually just about preserving the feelings of Donald Trump, my big, beautiful president, who I am almost single-mindedly invested in defending, okay? Oftentimes defending his personal feelings. So what do I do? What do I do as a part of my job at the Department of Justice? Okay. But let me tell you what I do. I tweet the dumbest possible fucking tweet that anyone could have tweeted. Hold on. Let me pull it up real quick. I need to show you my work here. Hold on. Why can't I find the Department of Justice's fucking, oh my God. I can't even find my account that I'm in control of, that I personally tweeted from, okay? Oh, here it is. Here it is. Here's my tweet. Are you ready for this? And I don't want you guys to get anything. I don't want you to misunderstand anything. I don't want you guys to get the wrong idea, okay? The Department of Justice officially released nearly 30,000 more pages of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein. Some of these documents contain untrue and sensationalist claims made against President Trump that were submitted to the FBI right before the 2020 election. To be clear, the claims are unfounded and false. And if they had a shred of credibility, they certainly would have been weaponized against President Trump already. Nevertheless, out of our commitment to the law and transparency, the Department of Justice is releasing these documents with the legally required protections for Epstein's victims. I think I did a pretty good job here, right, guys? No one's gonna ask questions, right? I mean, it's like, please stop saying the president is a pedophile, everybody. It's really messed up that this high-profile pedophilia case has Donald Trump and his name and his affiliations written all over it. And I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. Okay? I wanted to give you guys a heads up at my new job at the Department of Justice as an intern paralegal. They made me type this up, and I think I did a very good job. Now no one will think. Now no one. And I mean, no one will think Donald Trump is culpable here. He might be a co-conspirator here. I got my inspiration from the Drake defense, which I thought worked really well when Drake and Kendrick were duking it out. If I was a pedophile, I promise you I would have been arrested. Is that good? Was that a good one? Was that a good counter? Everyone, the other one was the famous. The other one was the famous. I am not an unindicted co-conspirator in an international sex trafficking of minors case. T-shirt is bringing up a lot of questions that the T-shirt is actually supposed to be answering. It's very strange. It's always good when you do stuff like this. It's always good when you reveal ahead of time. It's always good when you reveal ahead of time that, hey guys, the president's name might be all over. Okay? The president's name might be all over. But I need you to understand something. He's not, it's just all fake news. Okay. So now with that information in mind, I hope you guys keep that information in mind. Okay. Now with that information in mind, I need you to understand the Department of Justice was forced to release this information, but, it doesn't mean anything about the president.
Thousands more Jeffrey Epstein files, the most substantial dump of documents so far, including never-before-seen investigative materials. In this email from the day after Epstein was arrested on charges of sex trafficking minors in 2019, an unidentified person at the New York FBI field office already in pursuit of potential
So this specific redaction is one of the most insane ones because it quite literally has the subject co-conspirators, and there are redactions specifically made that lead us to believe that those redactions might have been on co-conspirators, which is something that Julie K. Brown, who's obviously all over the Epstein stuff as an investigative reporter, also pointed to. Why are the names of Epstein's co-conspirators redacted? Like, what the fuck are we doing? What do you mean? You left the subject co-conspirators. The only person whose name we can see here is Wexner, Les Wexner, L. Brands, right? Redacted does not need to head out. We made contact with Redacted last night in New York. Contact was made with Redacted. Attempts were made to Redacted and Brunel. Redacted is confirmed to live in New York, but was far away for the holiday weekend. We did not have a good address for Redacted, but attempt was made at residence in New York. Attempts to Maxwell are being made in Boston today. Redacted will be approached in Florida and Redacted in New York, but haven't as of yet. I do not know about Ohio contacting Wexner. What the fuck? And then there's also obviously Alex Acosta, this was the meat and potatoes. This is, at least for like someone who has been following, Jeffrey Epstein's finances and his misdealings and his illicit behavior for so many years, this was the thing that I really wanted to find out, right? This is something that I actually brought up to Ro Khanna as well. The plea deal that he got in the 2008 case from now sitting on the board of Newsmax, former Florida prosecutor Alexander Acosta, who became Donald Trump's labor secretary, if you recall. How did Jeffrey Epstein get a sweetheart plea bargain that no sex offender has ever gotten before or after, especially at his level? Okay? Because the thing is, our criminal justice system protects sex offenders in many cases, right? It's not very good at dealing with sex crimes. We already know that. The investigators are not very good with it. The prosecutors are not very good with it, notoriously, especially when the offender is actually a very wealthy person, white person. All this stuff is correct, right? But this goes above and beyond, especially with the mountain of evidence that was readily available, and yet they got him dead to rights, and they basically let him go. So I was always incredibly confused. Okay, I was very confused about like how this deal came about. Okay, and if you guys recall, Alex Acosta personally stated, Epstein belonged to intelligence, was what he had heard. Right? There's that question there as well. So obviously we're going to be digging deep into that side of the story as well. But today's tranche of data was very valuable. But this, in and of itself, once again, speaks to the motivations of the Department of Justice.
Collaborators writing, when you get a chance, can you give me an update on the status of the 10 co-conspirators? In a July memo, the DOJ stating flatly there was not enough evidence to warrant prosecuting any uncharged third parties. Ghislaine Maxwell is the only person to ever be charged as an Epstein co-conspirator.
Also, yeah, this was the only time that Elon Musk was actually truthful. Time to drop the really big bomb. At real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT. Mark this post for the future. The truth will come out. And then he fucking deleted it because he's a goddamn coward. Well, he deleted it because it's mutually assured pedophilia destruction. So, yeah, the one time he was right, he was like, oops, got to put that back. Got to put the toothpaste back in the tube as hastily as possible. Also, there's this side of the story. The Epstein files on the DOJ website allow you to highlight the redacted text, copy it, and paste to another document, which reveals that was what was hidden. You can also press Control F and search for Trump with a space to see his name appear more than 600 times. So what's really interesting about the search function that was initially busted, and then they actually rebuilt the search function, was the fact that if you searched Trump, it gave you no results. However, if you searched Trump with a space, it actually did give you results, because I think the boomers that tried to hide in the Department of Justice, the boomers that tried to hide like the searchability function for Donald Trump, forgot to put different versions of that, which I think is very funny. Once again, I need you to understand something. As I told you, they're very incompetent. Okay, so W on this administration for being some of the most incompetent people that have ever worked on this position. Okay, there's it's crunch time. There's a deadline. They all have attention deficit hyperactive disorder. They have imposter syndrome. I don't know, but they're having a real tough time over there at the Department of Justice, the 200 plus lawyers that are tasked with covering up Trump in this in the shittiest ways possible. And the cover up then becomes a story in and of itself, and it highlights what they're trying to cover up. It shows that their motivation is actually indecent. And so thank God they eradicated DEI over at the DOJ, so that we have these wonderful moments, okay? And from what I understand, Yeah, so when you're searching the results in the files, if you search Trump, you get 0 results. But if you search Trump with a space at the end, you get around 600 results, which tells me that DOJ blocked the search. But they're so fucking old and stupid, they didn't block the search with spaces. So have fun with that while it lasts. And it's kind of funny because just like how video game companies now just like make you pay for an alpha release so you can be a beta tester, like so you can do the game test and you can pay for that privilege of being a game tester. It kind of feels like the administration is utilizing the internet snoopers to make up for all of their personal failures, because every day they just release another tranche of data. Every day people find new information from this tranche of data, and then they literally go back and go, oh my God, we got to fix it. And then they just delete that stuff. Okay? It's awesome. We're getting we're getting early access Jeffrey Epstein releases and Donald Trump releases, only for the DOJ to basically turn around and make up for their initial incompetence far after everyone has already figured it out. What if they're doing it on purpose to explore the actual truth? I have a bridge that I can sell you. It's actually a very wonderful bridge. I have ownership rights to it. Would you like to purchase the bridge? It's beautiful. It's not in a dire state of disrepair. And for the price of $1 million American, I can sell the bridge to you. It's early access. Okay, I have an early access bridge that I can sell you. Please hit my line. I got you. Okay, put the bridge in the bag, little bro. Yeah, bridge NFT. So there's that part of the story as well. I will, however, say that given the intensity and given just the sheer volume, the density of all the data that is being dumped in front of everybody, the media is also having a hard time focusing their efforts on some of the more important aspects of this. They're trying. I think they're trying their best, but it's not looking too good. Not looking too good for Donald Trump.
Other emails show prosecutors pressing repeatedly to interview former Prince Andrew, who sent a written statement and never sat down with investigators. Then this email mentioning President Trump from a federal prosecutor in Maxwell's 2020 case, writing up to...
This one is crazy. Okay, once again, another crazy revelation. It's federal prosecutors talking to one another about Epstein's flight records in 2020 going, hey, just so you know, Donald Trump was on the Epstein jets a lot more than we thought he was between 93 and 96, and also was on it, on various different timelines. He was on it with his family. He was on it with just Jeffrey, and he was on it with Ghislaine Maxwell, and he was on it potentially with co-conspirators alongside Ghislaine Maxwell, or at least eyewitnesses alongside Ghislaine Maxwell. So if there is an investigation into Ghislaine Maxwell, probably Donald Trump is going to be on that investigation as well. Just wanted to put that in front of you, you know?
Obtained flight records reflect that Donald Trump traveled on Epstein's private jet many more times than previously has been reported or that we were aware, including during the period we would expect to charge in a Maxwell case.
There is no greater vindication for the American left that has time and time again said that devoid of party affiliation is utterly irrelevant. These guys are tasked first and foremost with protecting every wealthy, potentially pedophilic person. This is what we've been saying for years and years. I used to always joke and say, you know, there's uniparty consensus when it comes to certain things: foreign policy, defending Israel, and tax cuts and deregulation, and also protecting pedophiles and pedophilia of the elite. And it turns out this is yet another moment of vindication for the left that has said that. This is uniparty. Doesn't matter if it's fucking Brandon's DOJ. Doesn't matter if it's Trump's DOJ. They did not pursue these leads, and they let these leads die out. In some instances, quite literally die out, but we'll get there.
Trump and Epstein had a decades-long friendship, but a falling out in the early 2000s after Trump says Epstein stole Mar-a-Lago employees. Also in the thousands of documents, photos of an Austrian passport with Epstein's picture, but
and it says his fucking place of residence is Saudi Arabia.
Bearing the alias Marius Fortelny. The reams of newly released records coming as the DOJ is facing heat from bipartisan lawmakers.
Yeah, what's he doing? What's he doing in Saudi Arabia, bro? Wow. Interesting. Saudi Arabia, you say? Yeah, I am a spy for Israel and this is my passport. I am an artist from Israel. Yeah, very interesting. Oh, I guess he must have been in the pocket of the Gulf states, which is totally separate from Israel and totally separate from America.
And Epstein survivors after the department missed last Friday's legal deadline to release all of its Epstein files. President Trump yesterday asked about the dozens of photos released in previous document dumps, including at least one featuring Trump himself and several of former President Bill Clinton. Both have denied knowledge of Epstein's crimes.
A lot of people are very angry that pictures are being released of other people that really had nothing to do with Epstein, but they're in a picture with him because he was at a party.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was a Saudi spy as well. I mean, he was deeply connected to UAE, even more so than Saudi Arabia. But let's be real. All of these Gulf states are additional vassals for American empire. Okay? That's it. Like there are some there is some distribution of power there. There's some there's some separation of power there. There's a little bit of if you look at Qatar, for example, Qatar and Turkey are secondary in terms of their contributions to America's interests, whereas like Saudi Arabia and the UAE are far, far more connected to both Israel and the United States of America, even though Qatar obviously is as well. That's where U.S. CENTCOM is, and Turkey is a NATO country. So there is varying degrees of involvement. But if you see like Egypt, Saudi Arabia, like all of the Abraham Accords countries, for example, like the big ones, just know that it is most likely directly connected to Israel as well. I spent a year in Qatar. It's basically an American colony. It was nuts. I mean, a lot of the Gulf states are like that. The reason why I say like there is a separation there with Qatar is because while it does play the role of an American vassal, it still has like it's basically designed in a way where it's supposed to be like almost like a neutral territory, so that you can have like the Hamas leadership live on Qatari soil, for example, so that they can do these like negotiations and whatnot in places like Qatar. So there's a little bit more allowance for they're aligned vassals, but also all these countries spy on each other, including the Mossad and CIA. Their intelligence agencies don't always get along. No, absolutely. But I do think that in the case of Jeffrey Epstein, he is the connective tissue, because while these intelligence agencies don't always get along, there are plenty that actually do get along, and there are plenty of agents that work for both at different times. Like you say, CIA and the Mossad famously hate each other, sure, but there are also people who have worked both for the CIA as an asset or directly, and also Mossad as well. So, I think Jeffrey Epstein would probably be considered as one of those guys that did both. American citizen, deeply embedded in the American financial elite, that had obvious ties, deep ties to Israeli leadership and also Western leaders in general, with a Austrian passport that had a Saudi place of residence. Probably just a guy who really loves pedophilia personally. That's probably what it is, guys. Nothing to see here. Jeffrey Epstein, the financier. Nothing to see here, okay? Who amongst us doesn't have an Austrian passport with a totally different name with a Saudi place of residence? I don't understand. Like, what? Guys, please stop looking. Please stop looking into this, okay? It's totally normal. I'm Ezra Klein, and I want to say Jeffrey Epstein was doing pedophilia the right way, okay? I'm Ezra Klein for the New York Times, and today I'm going to tell you, was Jeffrey Epstein a prolific sex criminal? Yes. Was Jeffrey Epstein also deeply embedded in the financial elite? and deeply entangled with numerous world leaders. Also, yes. I also happen to believe that this was totally separate. Okay. This was totally separate from one another. Please stop investigating the connective tissue further. Okay. The funniest way that Israel could try, like Zionists could try and do Hasbara on the Epstein stuff now, would be to claim that Jeffrey Epstein actually reverted to Islam and he got the Saudi place of residence because he was doing the Hajj or something. You know what I mean? I know for a fact there's I'm speculating, but I assume there's some Unit 8200 guys right now going, oh, why couldn't it be Qatar? God damn it. Why did it have to be Saudi Arabia? Why did it have to be Saudi Arabia? If we could just get him on something that's related to Qatar, we can just keep saying like, oh, you see, Jeffrey Epstein, agent of Qatar, like Tucker Carlson. Did you see the IDF uniform on a jar on the island? Yes, that stuff is nothing. That's irrelevant. Of course, he also has a photo on the Lolita Express wearing an IDF sweater. That is not like he wasn't wearing it to be like, hey, look at me. I'm a member of the IDF. He was wearing it because a lot of those dudes just fucking, they love Israel. They think the IDF is cool. That's not, I don't think that's evidence. It's just evidence that, yeah, he's a fucking huge Israel dick rider, certainly. Yeah, the IDF shirt costs $5 and can be bought anywhere. It's like saying, hey, did you see Jeffrey Epstein wearing the PLA hat or something? Like, yeah, okay, I did. It's not, he had a Harvard sweatshirt too. That doesn't mean he fucking went to Harvard.
And you ruin the reputation of somebody.
Oh, this was also a beautiful moment. Hey, guys, in a beautiful moment of elite pedophilic unity, Donald Trump yesterday came out amidst all of the announcements that he was making about how they're making new boats and all this shit. Okay. He turned around and said, oh, I love Bill Clinton. Yeah. The Jeffrey Epstein stuff got him defending Bill Clinton. Okay. My friend Bill was good friends with him for many years. Unfairly being yelled at right now. Who amongst us has not found themselves innocently on the private jet of a known international pedophile? Every one of us has accidentally slipped and fell into the jet of a known pedophile sex trafficker. Look away. Could have happened to anybody. And it's like one of those moments where it's like, no, actually, it could not have happened to anybody. It can only happen to a very, very small number of people, yourself included. It's not like a normal thing at all. Very strange that you're saying this is, who amongst us, right? Okay, in his defense, it's hard to hate someone who shares your interests. True. Also, once again, both of these guys are probably, not in the right headspace right now. One of their besties died a couple years ago, but he was such an impactful figure in their lives that, they're sad. They're still recovering from the sadness that they feel in their fucking hearts. Here it is. Here's Donald Trump in his glory. I think it's terrible. I like Bill Clinton.
I think it's terrible. Look, I like Bill Clinton. I've always gotten along with Bill Clinton. I've been nice to him. He's been nice to me. We've always gotten along. Respect him. I hate to see photos come out of him.
He's got a great dick game. Bubba, many of you don't know this. I've heard. I don't know this personally. I've heard he's got great dick game. I don't know. Many people were saying it. That's right. Not me. I don't know. Many people are saying I hate Hillary more because she took Bubba away from me. Lock her up so I can have Bubba all to myself. That's why I say lock her up. A lot of people thought I hate Hillary for the emails. Meanwhile, I just wanted to have Bill all to myself.
But this is what the Democrats, mostly Democrats, and a couple of bad Republicans are asking for. So they're giving their photos of me, too. Everybody was friendly with this guy. I think it's terrible. Look.
Well, we learned about Biden's dick game from his wife, and now we're learning about Clinton's dick game from Trump. Yeah, work wife. What? It's the same shit, You got your wife, and then you got your work wife. Everybody knows how this works. One could assume Bubba and Trump we're in a work-wife style situation, okay? But yeah, the Jeffrey Epstein stuff is finally uniting the American political landscape. We have been divided for far too long, folks. This is what Nancy Pelosi truly wanted when she said, we want to unite. We want to get back to bipartisanship. Turns out we're back to bipartisanship, okay? Our pedophilic elite are united on, I guess, defending the interests of other pedophilic elite and themselves, preserving their own personal reputations. Isn't that wonderful? Don't you love to see that, folks? I personally do. Love that the divisive political landscape is finally coming to a halt. Okay. Anyway, why Pam Bondi defending this? I wonder why Pam Bondi would be defending this. I don't know. Maybe because her primary responsibility and the reason why she was even elected or appointed to this position. Sorry, not elected. Obviously not. The reason why she was appointed to this position was to defend Donald Trump. And that requires her to sometimes defend Donald Trump's deep, close, personal best friendship with known international sex trafficker of minors, Jeffrey Epstein. That was part of the reason why Pam Bondi and Kash Patel on numerous occasions lied to the American public when they said, oh, Jeffrey Epstein, he was just doing this for himself. 1,200 plus victims just for himself, just for his own personal benefit. You guys, stop looking into this, okay? Stop looking into the Epstein stuff. Come on, please, let's move on.
Of former President Bill Clinton. Both have denied knowledge of Epstein's crimes.
A lot of people are very angry that pictures are being released of other people that really had nothing to do with Epstein, but they're in a picture with him because he was at a party.
Yeah.
And you ruin the reputation of somebody. So a lot of people are very angry.
Yeah, these guys hate it. These guys hate the besmirching of the reputation of wonderful people like this. You know, I can't believe it. How dare you besmirch the reputation of all these elites that I spent years and years leaning into QAnon pedophilia conspiracies on. Now that it turns out I was one of the pedophilic elite, potentially, allegedly. All of a sudden, why are you besmirching the reputation of these big, beautiful people?
This continues.
In a statement yesterday, a Clinton spokesperson accusing the DOJ of using, quote, selective releases of Epstein documents to imply wrongdoing where there isn't, and challenging the department to immediately release any remaining materials mentioning or showing Bill Clinton in these files. Now, what's been released so far only represents a fraction of the hundreds of thousands of Epstein files that the DOJ has. They've promised to put out more in the coming days and weeks, Janae.
I think one of the interesting parts about this also is like
The rest.
when Donald Trump chirps about this, he is obviously physically incapable of talking about this in any way, shape, or form that reads as a person invested in uncovering these truths that many people want to find. He just comes across like a guy who's trying to do ass covering, right? So when he says stuff like this, he's like, oh, the American people, they're very saddened. They're very angry. It's like, yeah, they are, except they're fucking angry at you as well as everybody else that was, propping up Jeffrey Epstein for many, many years. You're not even doing a good enough job of like communicating your involvement here or what your DOJ is doing. And it's so obvious that like a narcissistic child caught with his hands in the cookie jar, you're just, trying to shift the attention to everything else. And I just don't think that it's going to work. I don't think that the way he's communicating here is going to cause people to go, you know what? I agree with the president. I also think it's really fucked up that they're besmirching the reputation of David Brooks and Google CEO Sergey Brin. Yeah, I'm a diehard Republican, triple voter for MAGA, very invested in this, deep state pedophilia conspiracy. And now that there's like hard evidence coming out that, a lot of very wealthy people are involved, including my favorite president, I'm going to now come to his and all of the, all the defense of people like Bill Gates. What do you like? What do you think is going to happen?
Asking me questions about Jeffrey Epstein. I thought that was finished.
That's also partially. Oh, here's the other thing. Okay, a lot of the MAGA Twitter accounts that are trying to desperately find a way to message out of this when Donald Trump is basically going on stage every day and communicating that he may or may not be a pedophile, or at least like very, very connected to Jeffrey Epstein, or at the very least defending the interests of others who were co-conspirators. They try to go on the timeline and say like, bet you libtards are mad about Bill Clinton being outed. And it's like, no, because even fucking liberals that love Kamala Harris or love Joe Biden or love Barack Obama, even liberals don't have the same association or love for Bill Clinton as you have for Donald Trump. So no, I haven't seen a lot of liberals turn around and talk about how Bill Clinton is innocent, as a matter of fact. No, many people are just like, yeah, no, lock them all up. Okay. There is no like, maybe some pedophilia is okay if it's people that are ostensibly on our side doing it. Like that's a Republican thing, I think. And it's not even like the entire Republican base that's doing this, but there are some who are trying to. Okay. But yeah, no, lock them all up. I don't give a shit. What do you mean? And it's very interesting because like you do see this, like you see this cult style defense from a lot of these people, right? Where they're so aggressively trying to communicate this partisan narrative that they suspect the other side of having. No one is doing that. No one's doing that at all. I took my Bill Clinton flag down yesterday and my Bill bumper stickers too.
It's the story he can't shake. Donald Trump was here to do what he likes doing, branding something with his name, this time a new class of Navy battleship. But his administration is still under fire over its handling of the Epstein files and his own relationship with the late convicted sex offender.
Everybody was friendly with this guy, either friendly or not friendly, but they, he was around. He was all over Palm Beach and other places. The head of Harvard was his best friend, Larry Summers. And Bill Clinton was a friend of his, but everybody was. I actually threw him out.
Everybody was. Who wasn't friends with this guy? It's like, yeah, that's the problem, brother. When Donald Trump says everybody was friends with this guy, I don't think he understands how that reads to normal people, okay? Normal people that hear that don't go, oh, that makes sense. I mean, come on, you have to obviously dip into the pedophilia pool a little bit. Everybody else is doing it. You just don't want to feel left out. No, they think, yeah, that's what we've been saying, and that's what the fucking problem is, okay? I love when he is so slammed in his own echo chamber of isolated elites that he just comes out and says dumb shit like this, where he's like, come on, who wasn't friends with this fucking guy? Come on, right? Like, you guys were, right? And it's just like, no, actually, that's fucking insane. And that's kind of what we were suspecting all along, that yes, you guys are also all of the financial elite and people in higher levels of government are involved in this massive conspiracy potentially, right? It's kind of the whole point. It's kind of the thing that people were suspecting and were very upset about.
Mar-a-Lago.
Trump may have cut off relations with Epstein, but that was after years of friendship. And in one document among thousands more released today, a note from a New York assistant attorney revealing that Trump traveled on Epstein's private jet many more times than previously has been reported. He flew at least 8 times on the plane between 1993 and 1996. On one flight, there was Epstein, Trump, and a 20-year-old. And on 2 other flights, 2 of the passengers were women who would be possible witnesses in the Ghislaine Maxwell case. And then there is this, a letter Epstein allegedly wrote in August 2019 from his jail cell.
So this letter is most likely not written by Jeffrey Epstein, by the way. There is a lot of... when I first saw this, I thought, if this letter is real and it was written by Jeffrey Epstein, this is one of the first instances of I would say pretty solid evidence, if it was written by him, one of the first instances of pretty solid evidence that he might have actually had suicidal ideation, right? Because that was the argument that people were making, like, oh, he just got like caught and he got really sad and he killed himself, right? Like that was the argument that people were making, and I had yet to see enough evidence of Jeffrey Epstein actually, doing the deed, and there is plenty of evidence that someone might have tried to or successfully assassinated him, right? The thing is, when you look at this Jeffrey Epstein letter to, and Julie Brown also had a similar take on this. But when you look at this newly leaked Epstein letter, completely implicates Donald Trump, because a lot of people like Harry Sasson and many other liberals are just like diving into this instantly, okay, because they think, oh, this makes Trump look bad, not realizing that this actually kind of invalidates the notion that Jeffrey Epstein might have been killed. Not even kind of, like directly invalidates the idea that Jeffrey Epstein was most likely killed in a federal prison under the watchful eye of Donald Trump under his administration, except it doesn't make a lot of sense. Because as Julie K. Brown also points out, Jeffrey Epstein didn't know how to spell. We know that already. And this is not similar to his handwriting either. And it's not even similar to the way Jeffrey Epstein wrote. Like the way he talked, the way he wrote, and the way he typed shit. So remember, just like with the 3D, the shitty CGI 3D render of Jeffrey Epstein killing himself in a cell was information that was added on from some random person that had actually emailed someone at the FBI at a certain point. There are a lot of things that they are uncovering in the Epstein files that might not reach the standard of like hard evidence. Okay, there's going to be a lot of stuff in there, including even one of the personal accounts of a potential victim that died, right? That was like, I believe that was like a taxi driver that recounted what he had heard about someone who was suspected to be a victim of Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump. Like, there is always going to be stuff in there. There's always going to be stuff in there that like don't make a lot of sense or might not actually reach the standard of like hard evidence, right? So you have to parse through that stuff carefully and apply scrutiny, even if it looks too good. Like even if it actually seems to implicate Donald Trump in a potential pedophilic conspiracy, you shouldn't automatically dive into that stuff. If this wasn't written by Epstein, it would be evidence of an anti-Trump deep state. Otherwise, it being a fake doesn't make sense. No, it might not be a fake. It might just be like, there are a lot of weirdos that just send quote unquote information. Just like, that's the reason why I gave you the example of like the CGI render. Like there was a guy who was like a fucking weirdo who sent this CGI render of Jeffrey Epstein killing himself in his jail cell. And that was obviously a part of, that was a part of the data that they compiled because they're compiling everything. So this could have just been like a random person who wrote this letter and made it seem like it was being written from Jeffrey Epstein to Nassar, right? FBI, I don't believe, did a analysis on, or I don't think we have the, I don't think we have full information on the whether or not this was verified to be an authentic document from Jeffrey Epstein. But in any case, yeah, there's this alleged letter that Jeffrey Epstein sent to Larry Nassar days before he died. Our president shares our love of young nubile girls. When a young beauty walked by, he loved the grab snatch, whereas we ended up snatching grub in the mess halls of the system. Life is unfair. Making it seem as though Jeffrey Epstein, prior to killing himself, sent this letter If it's not fake, what if taking the short route home means ratting on Trump and the others to go home? That would also explain the second paragraph. Last spam, I promise. Yeah, there's also that too. But Julie K. Brown also thinks this is suspect, largely because Jeffrey Epstein didn't know how to spell. It doesn't seem to fit with the way he wrote either. Plus, it really looks like a woman's handwriting. But you know, there's a postmark. I was very suspicious about this letter, and there is definitely enough. There's definitely enough inconsistencies in this letter to call into question its veracity, its validity. Be careful with the Epstein letter written to Larry Nassar. It's post-stamped 13 of August 2019, 3 days after Epstein died. It has a stamp of Nova 220, which means it was processed by a North Virginia mail facility, not where Nassar or Epstein were at the time. It's not to say that these are impossible circumstances, but worth intense scrutiny, especially given the claims within the note. I'm sure we will learn more in the coming days, but it's worth caution. Below is a note, says CoffeeZilla, who is now also, you know, getting promoted by Dropsite as well, which I think is very cool. Online guide to the North Virginia mail marking shows the Nova 220 stamp that almost looks identical to the one in the Epstein-Nassar supposed letter. Current evidence suggests this note/card is fake in the sense that it was likely written by someone else. Facts on this will evolve over time, withholding final judgment until we see the forensic handwriting analysis as a result. Check logs. See the letter here? It has the evidence label and the envelope. Oh, this is a Gmail, by the way. They basically recreated all the Epstein documents and all the Epstein emails in a way that is like easier to search and in a way that makes you go through it as though like Jeffrey Epstein is the one who's like typing all the emails. If you go here on gmail.world, this basically turns it into, yeah, you are logged in as Jeffrey Epstein on the jevacation@gmail.com. These are real emails released by Congress. Explore by name, contribute to the star list. So, you know, there is a lot of stuff, including like all the people that he talked to. Yeah, no, it's a really, really good tool for the record. Yeah, you can see his Amazon orders on the fake Amazon website that they recreated as well. This is because there's so much information. They basically mirrored his email account. So, yeah, you can see his Spotify playlist. You can see his Amazon purchases. By they, you mean people online, not the government, right? No, this is all of the. This is just created to make it easier to browse through. What is this? Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, here's the letter. From allegedly from the Manhattan. This is a third party creating a portal to view the government's released documents in. Yes. Didn't realize CoffeeZilla was this credible. Good for him. No, he is the GOAT. Listen, I've been a big booster of CoffeeZilla for a reason. He's been very, very good on not just this, but also on like a lot of the crypto stuff. He's been great in general.
And sent to Larry Nassar, another convicted pedophile. Epstein writes, our president also shares our love of young nubile girls. When a young beauty walked by, he loved to grab.
Yeah, he goes, as you know by now, I have taken the short route home. Good luck. We shared one thing, ... Our love. And what is this? And what? Like, it's just strange and caring for young ladies. Like, it's strange for Jeffrey Epstein to straight up be like, straight up admitting to being a pedophile and sending a postcard to another known convicted pedophile, like a very famous known convicted pedophile, to be like, hey, as you know, we both love pedophilia. Like, that's an insane thing for someone to do, especially when there is a case. There is already, like, he was in prison and there was an active investigation and a court case coming up. And he's like mass surveilled and he just like writes it out in this private correspondence. There is definitely some, I mean, this is definitely worthy of scrutiny. Okay. There's also the other side of this. There's also the other side of the story that I think the whole like, oh, Donald Trump also grabbed him by the pussy, if you recall, like bringing up something that's like very famous, famously known about Donald Trump to tie himself back to, or to tie Trump back to pedophilia in that same vein. I feel like if this is the guy who knows where the bodies are buried, if this is the guy who knows all of these like deeply, I mean, who knows all of the hidden secrets, the hidden truths of like elite pedophiles, I doubt he would just simply point to something that everybody knows like this. Okay? Like it just doesn't make, I don't know, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. This postcard seems like an intentionally fake piece of evidence to call into question any other Trump evidence. Yeah. I don't know. I just find it very strange. There's something about it that rubs me the wrong way.
Snatch. Today, the Department of Justice said,
some of these documents contain untrue and sensationalist claims made against President Trump that were submitted to the FBI right before the 2020 election. To be clear, the claims are unfounded and false.
Another document today revealed a rape allegation against Trump submitted to the FBI in October 2020. But the president has never been formally accused of any wrongdoing in relation to Epstein by law enforcement, and he's always denied he knew about Epstein's crimes. One individual who has stood accused, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, who lost his royal titles because of his friendship with Epstein. The late Virginia Roberts Giuffre, a confirmed victim of Epstein.
Yeah, I don't think he was, I don't think he lost his titles because of his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. I think it went a little bit beyond that, don't you think? Potentially. Both for Prince Andrew and for Lord Mountbatten.
Accused Andrew of raping her 3 times, something he has always strenuously denied.
Oh no, I was thinking of the other, this Andrew definitely. I was thinking of the other, the fucking British government guy.
Has stood accused, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, who lost his royal titles because of his friendship with Epstein. The late Virginia Roberts Giuffre, a confirmed victim of Epstein, accused Andrew of raping her 3 times, something he has always strenuously denied. But the new documents reveal that the Department of Justice in 2020 requested assistance from the UK government to compel Andrew to sit for questioning, and that there was information suggesting he had...
One of the funniest moments in PR history is when, once again, this is a classic. This is a classic historic relic, artifact, whatever. But when he did the interview, the famous interview where he's like, well, I'm incapable of sweating, you see. And also famously, I was not wearing my pedophilia shirt on the day that you're accusing me of being a pedophile.
Knowledge that Ghislaine Maxwell recruited females to engage in sex acts with Epstein and other men. In the latest documents, emails between Maxwell and someone called the Invisible Man, who signs off AXXX. In August 2001, he writes, I'm up here at Balmoral summer camp for the royal family. He then says, how's LA? Have you found me some new inappropriate friends? Maxwell replies, I've only been able to find appropriate friends. The so-called Invisible Man responds, distraught. While Andrew has always denied any wrongdoing and has not commented on these new documents, the new...
I'm glad that they found a little bit of OPSEC, you know? A little bit of OPSEC. And by that, I mean none at all. Where they're very clearly talking about like underage girls versus, girls of age. Very cool. Very cool. Have you found me some new inappropriate friends? I'm asking for underage girls. Let me know when you're coming over, as I'm free from the 25th of August until the 2nd September and want to go somewhere hot and sunny with some fun people before having to put my nose firmly to the grindstone for the fall. Any ideas? Gratefully received. See ya. A. Where's the OPSEC, dude? A. I wonder who A is. Yes, my princely duties. Oh, I do declare, quite dastardly and difficult my life has been so far. Quite difficult. I hate being a prince and having to put my nose through the stone and need a bit of respite from the work I'm doing as a prince by diving into pedophilia.
Appropriate friends.
And then Ghislaine Maxwell straight up, sorry to disappoint you. However, truth must be told, I've only been able to find appropriate friends. Only overage girls for you, I guess. Only girls over the age of 18, Prince Andrew. Sorry.
I've only been able to find...
You probably would... Distraught! You probably wouldn't know, but I lost my valet on Thursday. My valet on Thursday. He had died in his sleep. He had been with me since I was 2. I'm a little off balance, as not only has my office been restructured, I have left the RN, and now my whole life is in turmoil, as I have no one to look after me. Oh my God, they are literally babies, bro. He said he's distraught that he doesn't have underage victims that he can rape, and also distraught because his butler died, and now he has no one to look after him. Like, he's not even saying he's sad because a person that he's known, a person that took care of him since he was 2, just passed away. He's sad because he has no one to look after him. He was a real rock and almost a part of the family. Not fully, of course, because he was not a royal like me. Lord Prince Andrew Mountbatten, my servant died. I am distraught. I need a little bit of pedophilia to help me get along in these trying times. Yeah, this is Prince Andrew. If you have any good ideas as to how to get my mind back on track, I'd be grateful for advice. See you real soon. I hope if you are coming over.
While Andrew has always denied any wrongdoing and has not commented on these new documents, the new files provide yet further insight into the actions of Epstein and Maxwell. And yet many Democrats in Congress, as well as victims, have criticized the administration for the drip of files, with one Epstein survivor today calling for resignations and impeachments.
I am no longer supporting this administration. I redact any support I've ever given to him, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel. I am so disgusted with this administration. I think that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel both need to resign, and I would love to see number 47 get impeached over this.
The Democrats accuse the Trump administration of
I'm not going to say anything. These are victims, okay? They're you know, all the victims that voted for Donald Trump because they were like, oh, Donald Trump is going to like crack this case. Donald Trump is going to uncover the deep state pedophilia. All the people that are experiencing buyer's remorse, realizing that, you know, maybe Donald Trump is not actually cracking the case with this, you know, Jeffrey Epstein pedophilia stuff. They are, you know, it's fine. What are you going to do? I'm glad that they at least like are pulling the ripcord.
Actively publishing certain material, notably a tranche of photos of Bill Clinton in the initial release of documents. The former president has called for all files relating to him to be published and questioned why that had not yet happened. Trump himself had this to say about one of his predecessors.
I like Bill Clinton. I've always gotten along with Bill Clinton. I've been nice to him. He's been nice to me. We've always gotten along. Respect him. I hate to see photos come out of him, but this is what the Democrats, mostly Democrats, and a couple of bad Republicans are asking for.
But Trump knows more people than that are asking for these documents. Not just Epstein's victims, but many among his MAGA base, who are now questioning the president's connection to this ongoing scandal.
The Justice Department released a...
Yeah, letter signed by Jay Epstein and Larry Nassar cites our president. Oh, there was also this part that I thought was fucking insane, which was redacted, and it should have never been redacted. Investigators describe finding a photo of Trump and Ghislaine Maxwell on Steve Bannon's phone during the We Build the Wall investigation. This and other details from the latest Epstein files release. And they redacted the photo. And it's like, we know the photo is just Trump and Ghislaine Maxwell. Why would you redact that photo? Neither of them are fucking victims. This was a part of the separate investigation that was conducted into Steve Bannon, where they looked through his phone. They found this stuff. And then, because it was tying Trump to Ghislaine Maxwell, when the Ghislaine Maxwell investigation was being conducted, which is obviously going to be a part of the data that is in the Jeffrey Epstein files as well, there's just like, yeah, here it is. Interesting. When prosecutors reviewed Steve Bannon's iPhone as a part of their We Build the Wall prosecution against him, they found a lot of text messages between him and Jeffrey Epstein, including photos of Ghislaine Maxwell and Donald Trump. I hope you're well. I'm helping out with the responsiveness review for WBTW, and we've been looking through Steve Bannon's iPhone 7 on Celebrite. As I was going through the images from that phone, I found an image of Trump and Ghislaine Maxwell on Bannon's phone. See screenshot from Celebrite attached. They redacted the screenshot. I discussed with Sonny, and we wanted to flag this for you in case it was of any importance, since you are on both cases. Please let me know if you'd like anything further done with this. Thanks so much. Hi, I wanted to let you know that there are a number of text messages between Steve Bannon and Jeffrey Epstein on Bannon's iPhone 7. They aren't responsive to our warrant. And once again, and I've talked about this already over and over again, and I even brought it up with Rokana, Steve Bannon filmed 15 hours of interviews with pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. The two texted about using an obscure legal maneuver. The maneuver could explain why the footage hasn't seen the light of day. Remember, this is fucking insane. Yeah, here it is. Why is this redacted? Feds flag photo of Steve Bannon and Ghislaine Maxwell that was found on Bannon's phone in 2021. Not clear when the photo was taken, and the photo itself is redacted, which it shouldn't be. iPhone 7 came out in 2016, by the way. Yeah, except he could be using an older iPhone. That doesn't mean that the timeline is from 2016. We won't know. We won't know until, because this is a newer investigation, and I think he still had an iPhone 7 at the time when they were investigating him. It's Steve Bannon, right? So, and it's actually crazy that while this is happening, Steve Bannon is like speaking at Turning Point USA, for example. Just something to consider here. Like, who is deeply connected and associated with Jeffrey Epstein and still gets to operate within regular media. Okay? TPUSA, more like CPUSA. And the real reason for Steve Bannon connecting with Jeffrey Epstein, which he denies to this day, but we know to be true, is because he was actually working on Jeffrey Epstein's PR. Okay? Steve Bannon, Trump loyalist Steve Bannon, opportunist white supremacist Steve Bannon, was working with Jeffrey Epstein, and that's the reason why he has 15 hours of tapes of them going back and forth, and we will never actually find, we most likely will never see those tapes. But the real reason why they did this, the real reason why Steve Bannon did this, was because he was actually trying to do PR or trying to, Steve Bannon was working with Jeffrey Epstein in figuring out ways of manipulating the media and preparing him for a deposition for this upcoming second Jeffrey Epstein trial. You're skipping a huge story here. We've been covering the 13-year-old girl who contacted the FBI about being assaulted on a yacht in Trump's presence and her baby was killed. No, I haven't seen this part yet, but we'll get into it as well. I mean, there are so many instances where the FBI, quote unquote, dropped the ball on a lot of Epstein allegations, right? The most famous one being in 1996, I believe. So that's the one they mentioned in the news clip. An allegation was brought in 2020. Yeah, there's a couple allegations in 2020, but some of that might actually be some of that might be fake tips, because stuff like that is still going to be in the emails or in the investigation, because they receive a shit ton of emails. So just remember that. I haven't looked into every single one of these allegations, but some of them might not be as credible.
New batch of documents in the Jeffrey Epstein investigation, including chilling new evidence that some viewers may find disturbing. This is a jailhouse letter, apparently written by a Jeffrey Epstein. It says J. Epstein, and it was sent to another infamous sex offender. That would be Larry Nassar. The letter appears to include a reference to President Trump. We should note President Trump is not accused of any criminal wrongdoing. And I just spoke to a survivor of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse, Haley Robeson, a short time ago. Here's what she said. And DOJ says some of these things are salacious and there's no truth behind it. That's the statement it just released.
You made the jokes about people who support believing Pizzagate and Wayfair were wrong because Jeffrey Epstein was open and blunt about what he did, but you don't believe the postcard because Jeffrey Epstein is too open and blunt. Yeah, it's not a fucking private email that he's sending to another friend, okay? This is a random pedophile, a random high-profile pedophile that he sent a postcard to from prison when he's in the midst of a fucking heated court battle and an investigation into his pedophilia and sex crimes. There's a difference between sending emails that he never thought would get uncovered, where he's like, where Prince Andrew is literally sending an email to Ghislaine Maxwell being like, oh, can you give me underage minors to rape, versus a postcard during a fucking literal investigation into his sex crimes. But more importantly than all of that, this is an obvious fake, says Alex Pfeiffer, Republican communication consultant, for the record. So, be suspicious of his interest as well, but interest in this as well. But the postmark on the envelope is Virginia, not New York, where Epstein was jailed. It indicates the envelope was processed 3 days after his death in August 2019. The return address on the envelope misidentifies the jail where Epstein being held and does not include his inmate number, which the Bureau of Prisons Policy Manual requires to be included in the outgoing mail. There's also additional suspicion on the letter as well, specifically because of the handwriting and the way that he, he is the most dyslexic man on the planet. Okay. I've read so many emails at this point and so many things that Jeffrey Epstein has written at this point that it's just like instantly when I see the correspondence, it's just like, it doesn't, I'm just saying there is a good deal in there to be, there's a good deal in there to scrutinize.
But what do you think about the mention of Trump in that letter and what it said?
I think it's very apparent in that specific letter that was just publicized from the Epstein files. I think it's very apparent that there are a group of men that enjoy the company of young women and children. And I think that letter emphasizes that he knew what was going on. And that complicity is enough for me to know you have no business being in the position of power.
Strong words here from Haley.
I do love tuning randomly throughout the day, as I will continue to do so, to Fox News to see what they're covering when all this stuff is happening. And it seems
federal security guarantees, the U.S. specific security guarantees.
Fox News, I suspect, Fox News is going to be covering anything but the Epstein stuff today. And we'll just go back and forth to see, what they're up to throughout the day. Sometimes it's really funny. It'll be like rats fighting over a pizza went viral, At least this time, this is like a relevant news story. I like that the Jeffrey Epstein files and Trump's association and the Department of Justice's mishandling of the redactions is so severe that it's caused Fox News to cover real news for once. Okay? Yeah, it's this. Tug of war. CNN Epstein files, ABC Epstein files, NBC Epstein files, Fox News. Tug of war. Two rats engaged in a dramatic 3-minute battle over half a bagel at the New York City subway station. This reminds me of this is basically like Barry Weiss being like, hey guys, I know you did this investigative report on Trump sending random people to a rape and torture prison in El Salvador. But honestly, I think we need more Erica Kirk. Okay, we did such a good job with the Erica Kirk town hall. We need more of we need more of that. So I think we shouldn't do the CCOT investigation. We should actually not do that one instead. Instead, we should do more Erica Kirk, maybe. But yeah, now the Epstein files are so damning that they got Fox News covering real news, man. That's got to be crazy for all the Fox News watchers that are tuning in to be like, okay, I want to get my daily dose of Fox News. And then they tune in and they're like, wait a minute, what? It don't make no sense. But yeah, let's get back to it.
Ropes, and let's go live now to CNN senior reporter Marshall Cohen join us here in the Situation Room. So walk us through that letter. What did it actually say, Marshall?
Yeah, Pam. So let's be really clear about what we know and what we don't know. We have actually been aware for a couple years that Epstein tried to send a letter, or maybe did send a letter, to Nassar from prison. That's been out there. Mm-hmm. We had never seen it before, and it apparently was in the drop today from the Justice Department. It was written to LN, Larry Nassar, on the envelope, and it was signed by J. Epstein. And it was postmarked just a couple days after Epstein's suicide. No conspiracy there. It's not too crazy to think that prison officials will need to look at stuff before it goes out in the mail. So it's dated just a few days after that suicide, and I will read for you what it said. And as you mentioned, Pam, it's kind of disturbing. This is the letter. Quote, "As you know by now, I have taken the short route home. Good luck. We shared one thing, our love and caring for young ladies and the hope that they'd reach their full potential. Our president also shares our love of young nubile girls," which is obviously the disgusting words of one sexual predator to another. But I should make clear that Donald Trump has never been accused of any sexual wrongdoing by law enforcement, and obviously he's never been charged with any of these Epstein-related crimes.
And so the short route home reference, do we think that's him talking about dying by suicide? Because it came out a few days after,
The
right?
timeline would seem to suggest so.
Yeah. We're also seeing this 2021 Mar-a-Lago subpoena relating to the Ghislaine Maxwell case. This is new, right? Do we not know about the subpoena to Mar-a-Lago?
I didn't know about it. And
okay,
I don't
Marshall Cohen, you've been all over this story.
I don't think it was out there before. Our colleague Michael Williams found it this morning in the batch of 30,000 documents.
Fix the fucking audio, CNN. God damn it.
A subpoena sent by the Justice Department to Mar-a-Lago October 2021, just a few weeks before the start of the Ghislaine Maxwell trial. It is redacted, but it is clear through the redactions that they were looking for employment records about someone. We don't know who. But I should point out that we do know that there was one very well-known person that did work.
Bro, this is not even audio pervertry. I'm sorry. This is like perfectly valid. Perhaps the most valid demand to make of a multi-billion-dollar major media company uploading their fucking live broadcast onto YouTube. I don't understand how they still fuck this up.
At Mar-a-Lago when it was actually recruited to work for Epstein, and that was Virginia Giuffre, who was one of Epstein's victims. Not sure if the subpoena's about her, but there's been a lot of talk about her being at both Mar-a-Lago and Epstein's estate, and she died by suicide earlier this year.
Yeah, very sad. How is the DOJ responding to all of these revelations? Because it put out a statement with this batch, but not the first one.
They went on the offensive this morning and on offense to defend Donald Trump. Let me read for you what they put out in a tweet this morning as they rolled out this batch of tens of thousands of files. They said some of these documents contain untrue and sensationalist claims made against President Trump that were submitted to the FBI right before the 2020 election. To be clear, these claims are unfounded and false. If they had a shred of credibility, they certainly would have been weaponized against Trump already. So framing the entire conversation right off the bat to say, if you see stuff about Trump, don't believe it. But as the woman you just spoke to in the last hour made clear, there's a lot of stuff in here that has been vetted and verified. Maxwell was convicted. Epstein, before he was charged with the federal case, he had been convicted in a state case 20 years earlier. So, the Justice Department sort of massaging the situation here, trying to defend Trump. But as we've seen, there's a lot of stuff in here that has been verified and has vindicated.
Yeah. Also, obviously, when they said this, as I called it out earlier before we started the entire Epstein release, bizarre defensive post from DOJ saying if allegations of Trump had any credibility, they would have been weaponized against them. But if they had credibility, then pursuing them by definition wouldn't be weaponization, and that doesn't even make sense, right? That doesn't make sense at all. Oh, it's the if I was a pedophile, I promise you I would have been arrested, is not exactly a solid line of defense, man. It's just not. Very, very dumb shit happening here. Fox News accidentally tuning into Fox News. Mamdani responds to accusation of anti-Semitism within transition team. Oh, I'm glad that once again Fox News is on the ball, baby. They're doing the most important news stories of the day. Okay, let's continue.
All right, Marshall Cohen, thank you as always. I know you and the team have a lot of work going through these documents.
Want to bring in Nick Ackerman.
Lady resigned already for tweets from 2011. Fox News supposedly hates cancel culture, right? Remember that.
And former Assistant Special Watergate Prosecutor. He joins us by phone. So, Nick, a letter like that from Jeffrey Epstein in the days before he took his own life. Epstein, of course, who had a plea deal from years before and was accused of sexual abuse at the time he wrote it. A letter like that written to another sex abuser. Does it have any legal significance?
Well, I don't know how much legal significance it has. It certainly corroborates what.
They were some stupid tweets, though. She hit that hard J. Yes, dude. They were. They were. From 2011. Okay? The fuck are you talking about? Since then, she's married. She's not anti-Semitic now. Married a Jewish man. Has Jewish children. She was 19 years old in 2011. Yeah, I know. I agree. Fucking insane. 2011 is pretty recent. There's literally people in this chat that were like 4 years old.
We've heard from other victims that Donald Trump had an inclination to grab women and misuse his position in various ways before he became president. And it's consistent with all these other people have said. And it's also consistent with Donald Trump's 50th birthday.
I like when they have former Assistant Special Watergate prosecutor on to remind us of a time when the American government actually would handle stuff like this. And you know, and there was a sense of normalcy. Remember Watergate, guys? I mean, obviously you don't remember it. None of us were alive back then, but remember reading about it? When presidents got up to some fuck shit, there was actually an investigation that was conducted. You know, people will hold them to account. Yeah, I guess Watergate now is just every day. There's a Watergate level scandal that takes place virtually every fucking day, virtually every day, and we just go, what are you gonna do about it? And I feel like this is the maximum. This is the most like intense version of a Watergate level incident. So it doesn't like calling it a Watergate level incident actually undermines how insane this is. International sex trafficking of minors conspiracy amongst like the pedophilic elite and a very clear cover up from the current Department of Justice to preserve the PR of the current president, alongside all of these other politically active individuals and financial elite. This is insane.
Wish to Jeffrey Epstein. So whether or not this would be admissible in a court of law is a whole different story. But certainly from a political standpoint and from the fact that this is something that Jeffrey Epstein is saying, we know that they were very close and they're very good friends. And that this is pretty damning. I mean, to go on with this letter, it says in that letter, when a young beauty walked by, he loved to grab, snatch, whereas we ended up snatching grub in the mess halls of the system, meaning the prison system.
Focusing on this letter, it really does seem like a waste of time. The FBI has confirmed this alleged letter from Jeffrey Epstein that Larry Nassar is fake. The fake letter was received by the jail and flagged for the FBI at the time. The FBI made this conclusion based on the following facts. The writing does not appear to match Jeffrey Epstein's. The letter was postmarked 3 days after Epstein's death out of Northern Virginia when he was jailed in New York. The return address did not list the jail where Epstein was held and did not include his inmate number, which is required for outgoing mail. This fake letter serves as a reminder that just because a document is released by the department... Yeah, let me tell you something. Okay? This is exactly what I also had suspicions over. I'm telling you right now, it does read as fake, but because you can't trust the Department of Justice, it almost feels like they turn around and say, see, everything else is fake see this fake thing that you guys dove into, this possibly fake thing that you guys dove into should be a valuable lesson for all of you. Don't jump to conclusions. That's why I told you from the start, don't immediately dive into to new pieces of information that corresponds and confirms your previous confirms your priors. Okay, it's not good to do that. Doesn't letter serve to opposing purposes though? Suicide is real and Trump is a pedo. Yes, fuck that. We're going full QAnon. No, I'm telling you, dude. I'm telling you this. Look. Just like we talked about the CGI YouTube video of Jeffrey Epstein's suicide recreation. that was on some random YouTube page that was sent to the prosecutors by some random fucking conspiracy theorist, there are always going to be silly things that the prosecutors received. Okay, there are always going to be silly things that the prosecutors received, or information that does not reach the level of like hard evidence. And when this kind of stuff is being released, there will be people that dive into different aspects of this conspiracy that corresponds to or that confirms their previous biases, and they'll run along with it. And when you have, oh my God, fucking Hunter Biden on the Sean Ryan show, when you have information like this and the media is covering it, and then later down the line there's like more information that comes out that it's like, oh well, this actually doesn't make sense, then it actually obfuscates the truth. It muddies the waters. It makes people question whether or not Trump is actually connected. I mean, if this fake thing we fell for was confirmed to be fake, then what else is fake? Maybe Trump isn't actually buddies with Jeffrey Epstein, right?
And he signed it saying, "Life is unfair, yours, J. Epstein." So you've got two essentially abusers that are writing to each other. And in the course of that, Jeffrey Epstein references Donald Trump, who has gotten away with all of this.
It is worth noting, obviously, that President Trump or Donald Trump not charged with anything in connection with Jeffrey Epstein at all. It's also possible that Jeffrey Epstein was trying to stick it to Donald Trump, who was president at this point, the moment that the letter was written. Of greater, perhaps, legal significance, Nick, is the other information that came out.
Because the more they focus on this, because when I saw this, the first thing I thought was, well, this is the first piece of, if true, if this letter is real, if this postcard is real, this is the first piece of evidence that you can point to that Jeffrey Epstein actually had suicidal ideation. Okay? Like, I was willing to do an about face. I was willing to admit that my previous assessment that Jeffrey Epstein actually did not kill himself and was kirked instead of kirking himself was maybe wrong, right? But there was also enough. There were too many red flags in the letter, and I don't know why CNN is not questioning the veracity. Maybe because they also are invested in the Jeffrey Epstein actually killed himself narratives. What the fuck are you talking about? If it's real, you're implying the FBI is simultaneously redacting information about Trump while also fabricating evidence implicating him. This makes no sense. No, I'm not saying that this was the FBI's own fabrication. I'm saying that anyone could have sent this letter presenting it as though it was coming from Jeffrey Epstein. Because there isn't even like Epstein's inmate number, for example, in the letter.
Overnight, a letter written by an attorney for the Southern District of New York, which indicated, and this is a verbatim, that Donald Trump traveled on Epstein's private jet many more times than previously had been recorded or that we were aware. And at times, on two of the flights, two of the passengers were women.
No, Jeffrey Epstein had no prior relationship with Larry Nassar. And randomly, before he allegedly commits suicide, he decides to send a fucking postcard to Larry Nassar being like, well, from one pedophile to the next. Isn't it crazy that the president is a pedophile just like us, but we get the short end of the stick and we go to prison? I'm going to kill myself, by the way, and you'll probably hear about it by the time this letter gets to you, especially considering that the letter was postmarked days after he had killed himself. Allegedly killed himself. How the fuck does that make sense?
Who would be possible witnesses in a Ghislaine Maxwell case. Now, again, this letter was written at the time late in Donald Trump's first term when he was president. But the idea that Trump had been on a plane with two people who were witnesses potentially in a federal case, what's the significance there?
Well, the significance is that Donald Trump would, of course, be a potential witness as well, which means that he could have been called at the trial of Ghislaine Maxwell. So That's pretty shocking. The fact that he could.
Yeah, this is way, way more important than the fucking Larry Nassar letter, in my opinion. The idea that, here, I'll read it for you. For your situational awareness, wanted to let you know that the flight records we received yesterday, this is about Epstein's flight records, and this is Assistant U.S. Attorney, Southern District of New York, emailing someone on the Ghislaine case, a prosecutor on the Ghislaine case. For your situational awareness, wanted to let you know that the flight records we received yesterday reflect that Donald Trump traveled on Epstein's private jet many more times than previously has been reported or that we were aware, including during the period we would expect the charge in a Maxwell case. In particular, he is listed as a passenger on at least 8 flights between 93 and 96, including at least 4 flights on which Maxwell was also present. He is listed as having traveled with, among others, and at various times, Marla Maples, his daughter Tiffany, and his son Eric. On one flight in 1993, he and Epstein are the only 2 listed passengers. On another, the only 3 passengers are Epstein, Trump, and then 20-year-old bleep, most likely a victim. On 2 other flights, 2 of the passengers respectively were women who would be possible witnesses in a Maxwell case. We've just finished reviewing the records, more than 100 pages of very small script, and didn't want any of this to be a surprise down the road. As in, we might call into question Donald Trump. Donald Trump, who famously, if you recall, after the Ghislaine Maxwell case was unveiled, said, "I wish her well. She was a good person." And Donald Trump now, who's still talking about potentially floating a pardon in Ghislaine Maxwell's direction, or at least some sort of like sentencing leniency. Or we know for a fact that the Department of Justice, at the direction of Donald Trump, has already put Ghislaine Maxwell, who is the only surviving witness and co-conspirator that we know of at the very least, that could tie Donald Trump back to Jeffrey Epstein, for the record, who literally got a private one-on-one meeting with former Trump First Attorney Todd Blanche, who is now the Deputy Attorney General, who then put Ghislaine Maxwell in a better prison after a meeting that they took one-on-one, where she said stuff like, Donald Trump is actually a incredibly kind guy, very handsome. He was always a gentleman. He was always a gentleman around all the girls. Ghislaine Maxwell, who also is a famous perjurer. She was charged with perjury, and then they dropped it because she was already getting hit with all these other crimes anyway. So they didn't even further prosecute the perjury case, who very clearly lied on the stand over and over again about not only just her involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, but the involvement of other notable figures such as Prince Andrew.
Could have been called as a witness. That's something that I don't think has been reported before. And it also goes to Donald Trump's knowledge of what Epstein was doing. I mean, don't forget, he's been backing off at every point he can, claiming that he had no idea that Jeffrey Epstein was doing anything illegal. But as these Epstein files come out with the drip, 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 we have learned that Donald Trump knew a bit more than he's acknowledged. For example, there's the email of April 2nd, 2011, where it reflects an email between Epstein and Maxwell, where it says that Donald Trump spent hours in Epstein's house with Virginia, who is one of the victims of Jeffrey Epstein.
Makes you almost forget the doodles. Oh, I haven't forgotten the fucking doodles, baby. Remember. Yeah. Remember, they were so tight that Donald Trump was literally doodling naked women with like weird poetry to Jeffrey Epstein and to celebrate his birthday.
Sexual escapades.
Of course, Virginia Giuffre, before she died, said that Donald Trump did not do anything wrong or untoward. And it's also worth noting that the plane trips in question here were between 1993 and 1996, a time before Epstein was charged with anything. Nick Ackerman, a lot of context here, a lot of new information coming out. CNN continues to sift through it. Thank you very much.
Afternoon, the U.S. Department of Justice says thousands of newly released documents.
I suspect many Trump dick riders will use this as an opportunity at the peak of his unpopularity to fucking jump ship, by the way. I'm just letting you know, so get ready for that. The moment of vindication is already coming. But just as a lot of the podcasters turned around and were like, oh, we were lied to a couple months prior to this, you will see even further ship jumpers at this point. Because, you know, this stuff is so bad for Trump that even the biggest glazers, the open glazers of Trump that don't have any sort of like real ideological investment in pushing MAGA or pushing Trump or pushing the Republican movement, but they're simply grifting to reach as large an audience as possible, will turn around after dick riding Trump into fucking oblivion. They will turn around and say, I don't know, maybe Trump isn't the best guy. You'll see. Like I said, I've told you, Joe Rogan probably will be one of those people, even though he's diving deep into the I'm a Christian now angle. Yeah, Trump has lost his cool factor for a lot of these fucking vicious bullies.
Relating to Jeffrey Epstein contain untrue and sensationalist claims against.
Everybody knew they were friends before this election and these people didn't care. Yeah, except guess what? We did. We covered it all the time. We covered it all the fucking time. And I was even mad about the Democrats not actually leaning into this to this open friendship that Donald Trump had with Jeffrey Epstein. And I also explained the reason why Donald Trump, or the reason why the Democrats didn't actually lean into this, because Bill Clinton was, I guess, too useful at the time for the Democrats because they're fucking stupid. They wanted to protect the other co-conspirators or other high-profile Democrats that have been involved with Jeffrey Epstein. And it's not just even Bill Clinton. It's like Larry Summers and all these other fucking people that like have deep ties to the Democratic Party. And I say useful, I'm using that jokingly, because he obviously wasn't fucking useful. Okay? The We're Out Brigade is already happening in real time. Sarah Longwell. Earlier this year, Kash Patel testified under oath that the internal files contain no credible information that Epstein trafficked young women to anyone other than himself. Today, the DOJ released internal emails referring to 10 co-conspirators. There were so many good opportunities for Democrats to jettison Bill Clinton, and keeping him prominently involved and in good standing was such a suicidal choice by party elites. Yep, I'm telling you. We were there. We were fucking there. But it's the same principle behind like dick riding Israel into oblivion as they supported Israel's genocide of Palestinians, right? It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous because it's not, oh my God, most memorable moments on the year on the story.
Tariffs. Would you consider, where's that money going to go? Would you consider giving it back to taxpayers?
I love going back to Fox News every now and then throughout the entire day to see what they're actually tuning into, what they're actually covering. And it's always like Trump's best moments. This week, my MAGA boss said Trump should be shot for the Epstein stuff. She attended Amerifest last year, but didn't go this year because she said they are grifters and Israel killed Kirk. Yeah, Israel, Epstein, lack of movement on all of the promises that Trump made in terms of fixing people's economic hardships, tying it all back to trans people and immigrants. All of that stuff is falling apart. And when you combine everything, especially when you factor in the reality that Donald Trump did not have this popular mandate that people presented it, even though people presented it as though Donald Trump had this like popular fucking mandate. Okay. Of course, people are inevitably going to go, I'm out. Fuck this. I'm out. It's time for buyer's remorse. And for the average person that experiences buyer's remorse, no matter at what point they experience it, I'm there with you, okay? I will take you. I will guide you into the promised land, okay? I will explain to you why you might have been duped with the hopes that you don't get duped again in the future. There are, however, grifters who don't have any interest in pursuing the truth whatsoever, but simply lean on the Trump train, the rocket ship, just like many of them who leaned on the Andrew Tate side of things, right? There were plenty of people who leaned into Andrew Tate and were like, oh my God, Andrew Tate is fucking so based. Those exact same people then leaned onto the Trump train. except for Nicki Minaj, who is seemingly doing it at the worst possible time she could have, right? December 2024, Donald Trump's reelection shocks begs the question, has America entered a new epoch of MAGA's cultural victory? December 2025, they're looking into it, but the Trump DOJ wants you to know they're pretty sure the Epstein letter about him being a pedophile is bogus. And there are still, as someone who has been there from the start, as someone who has talked about this shit from the start, I need you to understand something, okay? There are still so many questions that that the media is not asking, okay? Mainstream media is not asking, specifically Jeffrey Epstein's ties to Israel and Israeli intelligence, okay? If you noticed, that is absent from the conversation, okay? That is completely absent from the conversation for some reason. Jeffrey Epstein's ties to American intelligence is absent from the conversation for some weird reason. Just remember, there are still many questions that we have. There are many questions that we have about not only Jeffrey Epstein's ties to American and foreign intelligence, but also Jeffrey Epstein's financial ties that are well documented with extensive paper trail, extensive records, okay? Jeffrey Epstein wasn't just like a random prolific pedophile who hung out with a bunch of wealthy and super famous people, okay? It didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen by accident. No matter how hard the New York Times tries to present it as such. This is also important. New York Times keeps talking about Jeffrey Epstein, right? And they tie Jeffrey Epstein to Donald Trump in a partisan way. That's fine, right? Because there is obviously a lot of interest there, and I totally understand why you would do that. Donald Trump was besties with Jeffrey Epstein, all this stuff, right? But the New York Times, weirdly enough, consistently pushes this narrative that Jeffrey Epstein was, financially successful, or maybe a con man that was able to dupe all these financial elites and yada, yada, yada. It's strange. It's strange to me. I find it very strange that they don't actually investigate the additional crimes that were, taking place, specifically on the financial side. All of the investigations that the New York Times has conducted on the financial side have led to, do you really read articles? Yes, all the time, nonstop. Confused. There's already good reporting about his involvement in Iran-Contra. Why are you pretending this is the whole story? Why didn't the New York Times do this reporting years ago? New York Times has been protecting the Epstein class for decades. This is the Daily's own audience. The Daily is the most popular podcast in the country. I listen to the Daily all the time. It has become even more frustrating as of late when I listen to the Daily on the Epstein stuff. Wow, this is going to be a steaming pile of ... Crazy not to mention Israel in this piece. Don't say Israel. Leave that to Fuentes. What can go wrong? This actually is unironically a great take, because if the New York Times doesn't cover the Israel connection with Jeffrey Epstein, then people are inevitably going to go to people like Nick Fuentes, who are covering the connection to Israel. Okay? That's a great point. It's one that I consistently hammer over and over again. If you leave a void in mainstream resources that the market is demanding, if you look at people going, hey, this is kind of strange, Jeffrey Epstein is profiled alongside and publicly was hanging out with Ehud Barak, former prime minister of Israel. Jeffrey Epstein has a shit ton of emails with Ehud Barak talking about selling Israeli surveillance technology to other countries. Why is that never getting covered in the New York Times? People are eventually going to look for others who do this coverage, okay? And while it's drop site and people like myself that do this coverage with regular frequency, there are obviously, especially with the algorithmic boost that right-wingers get, there are obviously going to be a lot of right-wingers who do end up being the voice of reason in this circumstance, who were able to farm credibility due to the messaging void in mainstream outlets, in liberal outlets, and specifically Democrats in general, who don't call into question this very obvious tie. Taking a wild guess, you're not going to report anything about Israel, so I'm not going to listen. The truth is out there. Let me guess, CIA and Mossad will not be mentioned in this report. Drop site, news site did an investigation, uncovered facts that this New York Times report willfully and accidentally ignored. Is this a smokescreen? Yeah, the New York Times attacked drop site news over factual reporting on Epstein's connections to intelligence agencies. We report on facts that are we are able to confirm, not supposition. Epstein, Israel, and the CIA, how the Iran-Contra planes landed at Les Wexner's base. Okay, this was Dropsite News' coverage. If NPR and the New York Times turn around and say, oh, all of these ties to Israel Jeffrey Epstein clearly has is simple suspicion, is nothing more than a conspiracy, okay, and you shouldn't look in that direction at all, a lot of people are going to stop listening to the New York Times, okay? And many of them hopefully will find the Dropsite coverage and will support Dropsite, who are fantastic investigative reporters, as you guys know, good friends of mine. I'm honored I'm so privileged to be able to call them my colleagues, my friends. But there are plenty of other people in the commentary sphere who will be tying the actual conspiracy to do a crime back to conspiracy theories surrounding Jews and whatnot. I was able to find one reference to Iran in the documents in 1998 where the U.S. government sued Epstein. This related to a home the U.S. government had leased to Epstein in 1992 that used to belong to the former deputy consulate general of Iran. They had taken possession of the building after the revolution. At some point, Epstein had gone without their permission and subleased the building to a bunch of people. The U.S. government sued to evict Epstein and all the occupants and to confiscate the rent Epstein had taken without permission. I looked a lot, but wasn't able to find the name of who that former deputy consul general was. To which Matthew Petty responds with, Dropsite also did a big investigative report on how Epstein first came into wealth just before the files dropped, and part of it was Epstein's involvement with some Iran-Contra figures. Although, of course, that's indirect. TLDR is that young Epstein started a tax avoidance business with Cyrus Hashemi's lawyer and ended up obtaining the planes from Southern Air Transport, SAT, the CIA front airline that ran guns to Iran via Israel and cocaine from Nicaragua after its bankruptcy. Epstein also worked for Douglas Lease, an alleged gunrunner and associate of Saudi gunrunner Adnan Khashoggi, Jamal Khashoggi's father. Epstein also had a fake passport that listed his address in Saudi Arabia. Pretty weird stuff adjacent to the CIA's arms smuggling to Iran without a single smoking gun. Sorry, I misstated. He didn't obtain the planes after their bankruptcy. He was using their planes as a part of the company was in the process of falling apart. Yeah. But, just nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. He's just a con man. If you look at the New York Times coverage and the New York Times profile on this, and they have done a lot of reporting, investigative reporting, on Jeffrey Epstein and how he actually was able to get the wealth, okay? How he was able to secure the wealth that he had. It's nothing to see here. He was a low-level con man who was able to con increasingly wealthier and wealthier individuals. He certainly wasn't engaged in any sort of espionage or any sort of activities that the American government at the time was, and its State Department at the time was engaging in, even if it was directly aligned with one another. Okay?
Donald Trump. The latest batch of files comes from federal investigations into the late pedophile.
I mean, yeah, who's the invisible man signing off emails as we already know it's Prince Andrew, formerly Prince. So, now, remember I told you earlier that the Trump boosters, the big Trump boosters, are eventually going to, escape. Trump boosters that have signaled that they didn't like what Trump was doing with the immigrant stuff, with the mass deportations and whatnot, are basically highlighting their discontent. Well, let's take a look at Joe Rogan. We haven't tuned into Joe Rogan for a minute. Let's take a look.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
We were talking about the Epstein releases, before we got started. First of all,
the photo dump and the emails, it's fucking nuts.
But it's also they're doing it so slowly.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have had this stuff for a year.
We were promised multiple times, it's coming.
Doesn't it seem like you could just throw all that into AI at this stage of the game?
Yes.
And just redact the names of the victims and let's go?
Yeah.
I love Ape Brain, dude. Ape Brain is so awesome. Ape Brain is so fucking awesome. Yeah, just throw it into AI, bro. Yeah, they did do that, I think. And that's part of the reason why there's so many fucking failures overall. There's at the end of the day, even if you were to fucking put it through the AI machine, if Donald Trump is all over this fucking thing and the AI machine is basically saying like, oh, we got to redact all the Trump parts of this, it's you know, what you're describing is what happened. Except it also was redacting not just Donald Trump, but also numerous other people that are very much high-profile individuals.
Yeah, of course.
It seems like that would take 5 minutes.
I mean, it feels like, you can't help but feel like the administration is just like watching their back, and that's why it's happening.
Watching someone's back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all speculative why they haven't released it, but it's not good. It's not good for everybody's confidence.
No.
It's not good that this thing was going on, that they had this bizarre blackmail operation running. That's very weird.
Very strange.
Very weird. But it kind of makes sense. Because if you're a 60-year-old billionaire and you're a freak and you like to get your freak on, but unfortunately you're a gigantic software developer and everybody knows who you are.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to get your freak on.
Well, that's the thing is like it makes sense when you go like, oh, some of these dudes really liked visiting that place.
Yeah.
It's like that's the only place they can go.
Right.
You can't go anywhere else.
Right. And that's why they set it up for them.
Yeah.
Eric Weinstein said that to me once. And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
If you're the
Yeah, no, Joe Rogan got this from one of his guests, as he gets all of his information from one of, whoever is on his broadcast at any given point. But like the idea that like Jeffrey Epstein was like serving a purpose for a lot of the super wealthy who can't just like go to a nightclub and get their freak on. And that's why they would go on Lolita Express and go to the fucking Little St. James Island. Now, I think I'm going to be as charitable as possible to the ape man here and say that he's not saying this as a positive. I think he's saying like, it's bad that this is happening. I suspect that he now thinks it's bad that this was happening. All the wealthy elites, which Joe probably is a part of at this point. I do think he's a part of, is bad that they're going to a raping children island.
Former president of the United States, you can't go to a nightclub.
Yeah, he said, I think there are people out there that provide experiences for certain people that have a hunger for them.
Yeah.
I was like, of course. And that's also how they compromise people too, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's how they get you to vote the way they want you to vote.
I'm telling you, he's leaning into the blackmail of it all.
Play ball, Bobby. We got video, you sucking a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
What do you want to do? Yeah. Because, I bet all those people have something on them. That's how they stay in the game.
They have to.
It's like skull and bones. You got to suck the dick.
Well, look at
otherwise we can't trust you.
For the Epstein shit, look at the level of people that we're visiting. I mean, it's all at the highest level of influence, power, and fame.
Yeah.
And so you go, this dude wants to do some wild shit. He can't go to Cheetahs and get it done.
Yeah.
You can't do it. He's got to go somewhere. Yeah. What sounds good? A private island.
Yeah. He can't just order up a call girl.
It's too risky.
Where are you going? I'm going to Captain Billionaire's house to go suck his dick. I do it every Tuesday. Plus, I'm on meth, and I'm really good at keeping secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was another. The thing is, Joe, this past year you've had numerous people that were directly connected to Jeffrey Epstein on your fucking podcast, including the guy you fucking said should be the next president, the guy who received your endorsement, Donald Trump. You had Donald Trump's FBI director, Kash Patel, on, where he did this half-assed defense of Donald Trump, and it was so bad that even you actually called it into question. You had Elon Musk on. You had you had Peter Thiel on. You had so many of these motherfuckers. You had RFK Jr. on. Isn't there just a moment where you turn around and go, yeah, maybe I'm actually putting these possible elite pedophiles on a platform here and just kind of defending them and making them look better to the best of my ability, even though they're really incompetent and have a really hard time presenting themselves as human.
These guys, it's dark. It's fucking dark.
So some guy comes along and says, I can take care of your problem.
And then
and everybody says, oh, trust me, he's a great guy.
He's really cool.
Yeah. And
he's got a great
he also
sense of
does this
humor.
thing. Yeah, great sense of humor.
Yeah.
His staff love him.
Yeah.
They also do this thing where, you know, it's like you're going to hang out with other famous people, so it must be safe.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Bill Clinton's here. This is no problem.
He's a little bit also audience captured, by the way. Thank you for the Piker Broadcasting Service sponsors and donors. Level 3 Hype Train, specifically the gifters. Mentis Morborn, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. And Meth Surfy, thank you for the 10 gifted subs as well. Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the viewers, for you, the viewers, even though there might be issues. Even though there might be certain things that you don't agree with me on, and you shouldn't agree with every single thing that I fucking say, I will always be honest. Piker Broadcasting Service is sponsored by you, the viewers, for you, the viewers. Thank you. Didn't Trump personally thank him for helping him get elected? Yes, he did. Yes, he did. And I think Joe Rogan here is maybe a little bit brain broken, maybe a little bit audience captured. And that's part of the reason why he can't name Trump, seemingly, even though he's, I suspect he will, by the end of next year, will have moved far beyond Trump and will be doing an about face and will be talking about how he's not, you know, he's not on the Trump train any longer. It is an inevitability for these people. Okay? It is an inevitability for these people. They all care about their own personal brand, their reputation, and making money. They saw the attitude and the culture shifting in one direction, and they leaned into it. In certain instances, like with Joe Rogan, there was a level of sincerity, right? I think he did actually post-COVID break his brain a little bit, for sure, and became like a full-blown Republican. But he will eventually dial it back. When you say audience capture, do you mean like confirmation bias, or they're aware that their audience won't accept straying viewpoints? No, Joe Rogan has basically designed this media empire for himself off of, you know, moving slowly but surely away from just like the simple conspiratorial realm into directly supporting Republicans. But you cannot hold on to the Trump train if the Trump train is off the rails, right? The point is, a lot of these guys, they grift. There are many examples of people like this that simply don't make up their own minds on issues at all, but just like look at, you know, the way things are going. They look at how rizless and uncharismatic the Democrats are, for example. And then in comparison, the Republicans are obviously offering a telegenic candidate that will go on their podcast, and that's going to bring them a fucking huge audience. They lean into it, okay? They lean into it. But once that audience slowly but surely withers away for Trump, when people start going, okay, dude, I thought the whole like we're going to dominate the transgenders and the migrants was going to actually yield some kind of economic respite for myself, the average American who voted for Donald Trump, but it's not happening. What the fuck is going on? And now on top of that, I'm beginning to realize that the guy who was supposed to fight the deep state pedophiles is actually a part of the deep state pedophilia campaign. People are going to start feeling a sense of buyer's remorse, the Fell for It Again awards, right? And when that happens, people start questioning their favorite content creators who have sold them this lie. They start going, why are you saying these things, Joe Rogan? And Joe Rogan is smart enough at this point in his career as a profoundly successful podcaster and you know, the voice of reason for all of your coworkers, basically. Joe Rogan is going to notice that people are actually pulling that, getting off that exit ramp. And he's going to slowly but surely start moving away from the Trump camp.
This is a statement released by the spokesperson.
This is what I've said over and over again. Politics is, for many Americans, especially the American consumers, broadly, politics is about vibes, okay? It's not about tangible goals. It's not about organizing towards reaching certain tangible goals. It's about just vibes. It's about being a part of one team over the other, okay? And even liberals entertain this. Even liberals get into this in the same vein, like where they also do team sports, right? And when politics is all about team sports and your goal is simply to be on the winning team, when your team starts losing, you drop it. You drop the team. It's that simple.
Spokesman for Bill Clinton.
Oh,
today.
let's read that.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. There's a person who signed it. My name is Angel Urena, spokesman for the former President Bill Clinton. Isn't that weird?
He's the deputy chief of staff for Bill Clinton.
Okay. He's still got a chief of staff? What does he do these days? Epstein Files Transparency Act imposes a clear legal duty on the U.S. Department of Justice to produce the full and complete.
Remember, virtually all of these people during peak woke, whether sincerely or insincerely, were throwing up the black fist to say Black Lives Matter. Okay? That's what I always go back to. Every single one of the supposedly apolitical guys that boosted Donald Trump, from Aiden Ross to XQC to all these other motherfuckers, okay, that literally directly played a role in Donald Trump getting elected to be president, they all did the Black Lives Matter posts in 2020. They were like, oh my God, I'm with you all the way. So much so that they couldn't even fucking believe it. Like, they couldn't even believe that they actually had said those things. They were being reverse canceled by their audiences. Like, Aiden Ross was being canceled by his audience for being pro BLM a couple months prior. XQC even forgot that he had actually done a fucking pro BLM post and literally said it was fake, only to realize, no, he actually had done it because it wasn't sincere. Okay? It was never sincere. It was simply just the meta. Okay? It was just the fucking meta, which is why I think it's always projection whenever people like that turn around and say, I'm a grifter, when my positions have not fucking, changed. Rogan was almost turned anti-weed after he had Crowder on to debate the other guy about weed. Lamau, remember? No, he was not turned anti-weed at all. He literally fucking that was one of the only things that Joe Rogan actually defended. Yeah, this is what I mean. It's a shame it even has to be stated, but of course, hashtag Black Lives Matter. We fucking love you. Keep fighting the good fight so everyone understands this. I want everyone to feel safe and respected. Yeah, hashtag bring this back, says XUC Fangirl. The replies on this give really good insight on how much fact-checking is being done on X these days. Most of the replies are saying he changed, LMFAO. Literally not a single person even verified if the tweet was real. Cringe. It turns out he was one of the people who didn't even verify the tweet was real, even though it was his own tweet. I do respect that he kept the tweet up, and even this one, for the record. I'm not even going to delete the main reply. That's just too good. You only get to this level if you have no sincerely held beliefs and you're just kind of reacting to politics. That's it. You're just like, politics is no different than watching like a JCS video. Politics is no different than watching like American politics from your perspective and the perspective of your audience is nothing more than just like team sports, entertainment, just something that you're fascinated by. It's like a UFC fight or, reacting to football, right? And that's precisely the reason why, unfortunately, this entire realm of people, this entire realm of influencers who shape a lot of young people's opinions about politics, whether we want to admit it to ourselves or not, this is real. This entire realm is dominated by people who have this kind of attitude about politics. They find it's just drama for them. They find valid targets to constantly fucking attack. And it's not about whatever policies you personally believe in, whatever vision you have for a better future, but instead it's just like, oh, I don't like this fucking guy for one reason or another, and I'm just going to constantly rail against him. Okay? That's it. But this is also partially the reason why I just, in spite of all those attacks, I just fucking stick my head down and I just keep pushing no matter what.
Record of the public demands and deserves. The public demands and deserves. However, what the Department of Justice has released so far and the manner in which it did so makes one thing clear: someone or something is being protected. We do not know whom, what, or why. This is like the killer pretending to be the detective.
Yeah.
We've got to solve this crime. We do not know whom.
This is the killer joining the search party.
We do not know whom, what, or why. We have photos of you in a fucking hot tub, buddy. But we do know this.
Buddy, you had Donald Trump on your podcast. You fucking endorsed him. He is just as fucking liable as Bill Clinton is. The fuck? He has yet to say Trump's name once, by the way, while he's talking about this. I wonder why.
Need no such protection. Accordingly, we call on President Trump to direct Attorney General Bondi to immediately release any remaining materials referring to, mentioning, or containing a photograph of Bill Clinton. This includes, without limitation, any records that may exist and are subject to disclosure under the Act, Public Law 119-38, enacted on November 19th, 2024.
And for the record, when you say, how can you be a fan of these guys? Like, imagine you're a Trump fan who watches the Rat King and then has to act like he never supported Trump. Are they still going to watch him? No, you don't understand. People devoid of conviction, people who have no interest in, like, actually, people who have no personal conviction in politics, but simply react to it as drama, will be at the mercy of their audiences. So if their audiences start shifting away from Trump, they'll start shifting away from Trump. That's why I said, the grossness in which a lot of this, like, Twitter-backed far-right commentary has made people disgusted with the modern right wing is the reason why the pendulum is swinging in the other direction again, where, you know, you have this comeback of woke. The comeback of woke is not because the Democrats have made woke trendy again. The comeback of woke is not even happening because I've made woke trendy again or something like that. It's happening because people are genuinely grossed out by what they see on their timelines all the time. I'm sure it swept away a lot of people into reactionary sentiment. There are definitely a lot of people who saw all the Nazi shit and were like, you know what? This is kind of edgy. This is more in line with my worldview. But there are plenty more people in the margins or in the middle that look at this stuff and go, the vibes are fucked on that side. I don't want any part of this. I don't want to do anything with this. This is gross. I'm out. And when that happens, when the entirety of the right is basically crying like whiny little babies over and over and over and over again, of course people are going to inevitably pull the ripcord. They're going to be like, oh, God, you're gross. You're a fucking loser. You're crying about, you know, the white race being under fire. I'm a white guy. I don't even understand what the fuck you're talking about. Talk about the grocery prices. Shut the fuck up about this shit.
Including grand jury transcripts, interview notes, photographs, and findings by this means a deal was made. So if you have a press release like that, that means the call went well.
Yeah.
You got a deal in. Whew, we're good.
We are good.
All we have to do is let him run for a third term.
And we're fine.
Look,
Dude, Clinton chilling in that hot tub too.
Hey, I would chill in a hot tub too. It feels nice.
Yeah, it feels nice, but it's just like
what's the big deal? You're chilling in a hot tub. If I went to your house and you had a hot tub, like, let's all get in the hot tub. I get in there.
Come on
take
over.
A picture of me. I'm like, fuck, dude. Yeah. I don't even know her.
Yeah.
Why'd you do that?
I don't know. I didn't know how old she was.
And you got cameras up all over your house.
Yeah. He knew what he was doing.
Oh, yeah. Probably watching people do coke in the bathroom. You got cameras of that. They were probably doing all kinds of shit.
He was compromising a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. And made a shit ton of money doing it.
God damn, he sure did.
Boy, that's what's really weird. Like, he got gifted.
Do you really think that any of these right-wing audiences will snap out of it and move to the left? Because, to be honest, I think it's way more likely they're pushed further right. I think there will be a lot of people that are pushed further to the right, but there will be some who actually snap back to reality. And yes, they will eventually. No, don't say no. You can't, dude. You can't automatically assume that all of these people are eventually going to do a full right-wing tilt and go further and further into the realm of, like, anti-Jewish conspiracy, stuff like that. Okay? I think part of it, like I've said, part of it is because in spite of my best attempts at pulling people back to reality, there is a fuck ton. There is a major market out there with a fuck ton of apolitical centrist content creators who played a formative role in undermining every single leftist, every single person that is to the left of the Democratic Party, who was critical of the Democratic Party. Joe, just admit this administration conned you, bro. Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. Kash Patel needs to be in prison for lying under oath. Just here to call your ass out on zero pushback to these clowns when you had them on your show. See? 100%. Oh, look, another Epstein video with no mentions of Trump. Only Bill. Only the 100th time this year. I'm sure eventually, unless he is like fully fucking brain broken by I'm a Christian and I'm actually fully right wing, Joe will eventually turn on Trump. It's not there yet, it seems, but it will happen. That's why I said by this time next year, you'll see a very different Joe Rogan, unless he is completely fucking brain broken by being a full tilt right winger. You can't see the like to dislike ratio because dislikes are not real, and the applications that they supposedly have to show you dislikes are not real either. Anyway, let's get back to the redactions that I was very interested about. Oh my goodness, says Mike Baker from the New York Times. All these redactions. Who is Alex Acosta talking to about the Epstein plea deal? Who is strategizing about messaging after Jeffrey Epstein's death? Who is emailing Trump and Bannon and Epstein? All of which are redacted. Remember, while I criticize the New York Times overall for their coverage on Jeffrey Epstein and its connections to Israel or connections to other intelligence agencies, there are going to always still be New York Times reporters and many others who ask these sorts of questions, right? So here's one of the files that Mike Baker identifies. Bleep has agreed to help finalize this. I will be out of town beginning tomorrow. This is from Friday, the 14th of September, 2007, regarding Jeffrey Epstein's documents, an email correspondence between Alexander Acosta at the Department of Justice at the time. Trump's labor secretary, Alexander Acosta, was the prosecutor that actually gave Jeffrey Epstein the initial sweetheart plea bargain, for the record. Okay. Here are the proposed plea agreement and information. If any changes need to be made, please contact Redacted via email or at Redacted. I will be out for the rest of the day, but you can get me at Redacted, and I will be able to access the email over the weekend. I assume this might be Alan Dershowitz, as a matter of fact. Redacted has agreed to help finalize this. I will be out of town beginning tomorrow. Or maybe this might be between other members of law enforcement. Also, the two officers are here. Today, the Bureau of Prison Staff who work in MCC, New York, on administrative leave pending the outcome of the investigation into the apparent suicide of Jeffrey Epstein. Additional actions may be taken in the circumstances of the investigations warrant. A more detailed version of the above could read, today, the Bureau of Prisons placed on administrative leave the two staff who worked on the special housing unit at MCC, New York, pending the outcome of the investigation into the apparent suicide of Jeffrey Epstein. Remember, this is a different one now. This is a different email that they redacted, an email that was investigating the cause of death to Jeffrey Epstein. As discussed, redacted, as discussed, several options are below. Please note that we should discuss timing of all this. I will need to ensure staff are notified first, and I should let my executive staff know so they are not taken off guard, as they will no doubt get a lot of questions from their staff and other wardens. Also note that warden just called redacted and told him U.S. attorney is meeting with him at 10 a.m. tomorrow, so this probably should have some time after that. Preferred. Thanks. This is helpful. We can talk tomorrow about the timing. It would also be helpful to get some information about staffing at MCC. I've seen additional press reports trying to link the staffing shortages, overtime, and this incident. Yes, also the two officers that we are putting on administrative leave, one is scheduled off today already, and the other didn't show so far. So the urgency of putting them on administrative leave is less, and if they are not there, Redacted is checking on the schedule for others. Yes, and yes, Redacted and I had already discussed that he will have info this morning. Who is the redacted person here? These are not victims of Jeffrey Epstein. Why are they redacted? Why are their names redacted? Maybe their emails might be redacted if they're still operating, right? But why would their names be redacted? That doesn't make any sense. Does that sound like someone who was one of Jeffrey Epstein's victims? Allowing limited redactions primarily to protect victim identities or ongoing investigations. This is unacceptable. Yeah, I get that there are some difficult redactions decisions to make, but the names of government officials using government email systems to make government decisions does not seem like it should be a tough call. Exactly. Hi, Redacted. Hope you're well. Oh, this is the famous one with Steve Bannon. This is an image that we know exists in these files. The image itself, as they say in the email, is they got this from Steve Bannon's phone when they were literally prosecuting Steve Bannon. That image is Ghislaine Maxwell and Donald Trump. Why is that redacted? Ghislaine Maxwell is not a victim. Donald Trump is not a victim of Jeffrey Epstein. So why the fuck is this image redacted? It makes no sense. Awfully suspicious. Yeah, thanks very much for flagging. No need to do anything with this one, but thanks for letting me know. And do let me know if anything else pops up. That was the response, by the way. No need to investigate further this connection between Ghislaine Maxwell, Donald Trump, that seemingly is on Steve Bannon's fucking phone. Just a photo of them together. Anyway, here is CoffeeZilla's coverage on this.
I just accidentally released 11,000 Jeffrey.
Yeah, this is the other side of the story. The FBI is obviously still incredibly incompetent, and that incompetence is yielding at least additional information that they are incapable of redacting personally. Let's take a look at what Coffee
Epstein
is saying on
files
this.
that they hadn't publicly put out yet, but we got access to them. And at the end of this video, I'm going to show you how to access them. Here's what that looks like. It's volume 8 of the files, but you can see right now that they've only released 7 data sets. And so myself, the guys at Jmail, and the guys at DropSite, we've been investigating this. I've partnered with them to kind of look at some of these files. And they got access to volume 8 early. You would just type it in the URL. It wasn't like indexable on search, but you could just type in the specific URL and it would just come up. You could download the entire zip file, and that's what we did. We've been looking through it. I want to go over some of it because I believe some of what we've seen directly contradicts the FBI's earlier statement that, oh, there's no evidence, or we did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. That's what they told us, right? They said, we've already looked through the files. You don't need to see the files back in July. Of course, all the pressure has made them now start releasing some of this stuff. And we believe that this was slated for release, but remember, they weren't going to release all the files yet. They had to hold some back. Well, we believe that these 11,000 files are part of what they held back, because clearly they aren't out, and clearly they were ready, because a lot of these are redacted. I mean, already you can see we found several files that were, once again, over 100 pages of redacted information. So it was all ready to be released. It's unclear why it wasn't. But let me caveat before we get into the material that this is a breaking story, and as such, I'm sure there's going to be some pieces of information that we are interpreting or trying to interpret live, and because of that, I want to warn you to withhold your judgment on some of this stuff until we get more evidence. I'm sure the president's going to be asked about some of this stuff. I'm sure Todd Blanche, Pam Bondi, they're going to get asked about this because it is extremely damning, I think, what we see in some of this. Specifically, I want to draw your attention immediately to the 10 co-conspirators that are mentioned in some of these emails in 2019. Now, this is just alarming stuff, because prior to this, remember that all we really had was Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. That's the only people who have ever faced any charges at all. Ghislaine Maxwell, the only one who actually faced consequences, right? But in 2019, apparently there were 10 co-conspirators. Now, the people who were sending this to and from have been blacked out, but at the bottom we see that this is the Violent Crime Section, Crimes Against Human Trafficking Unit. And we can see that of the 10 co-conspirators, 3 have been located in Florida, served grand jury subpoenas, 1 in Boston, 1 in New York City, 1 in Connecticut were served. 4 out of the 10 are outstanding with attempts having been made. What is a wealthy businessman in Ohio? A lead is being sent to CV, and the remaining 3 are currently out of pocket. This is stunning stuff. Previously, we did not know how many co-conspirators were suspected of, or I'm not aware of anything like that. And additionally, some of the details on this are revealed later, because we see this subject line. It says co-conspirators at the top, and it says blank does not need to head out. We made contact with blank last night in New York City. Blank last night in New York. Contact was made with blank, blank, and blank. By the way, I love how these potential co-conspirators are people.
Chatter, unfortunately, you can't send links unless you are subscribed. I'm not lying. Everyone, there has now been a method to unredact the Epstein files. Spread the word. How to unredact the Epstein files with just word by TechPub. I don't know if I could put links in here, Hassan. You can, but you can't actually send the links unless you are subscribed to the Piker Broadcasting Service. It's one of the many, there's one of the few amenities you get. And yes, there is a method to unredact a lot of these files, because apparently they botched that redaction job as well, from what I understand. Not every single document can be unredacted. It does seem to me like they utilized different redaction methods because they are incompetent.
People who are being blacked out. Like, why? I thought the whole point of this was you couldn't redact people for personal information reasons or for public embarrassment. You could only redact on the basis of it being a victim. And I'm not sure how these people could possibly be victims here.
Epstein Files Transparency Act prohibits redactions, quote, on the basis of embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity. Has anything been redacted on that basis?
Absolutely, positively not.
But anyways, you can see that it says attempts were made to blank and Brunel, that's Jean-Luc Brunel, the famous who's now dead. Blank is...
Yeah, famous Jeffrey Epstein affiliate, pedophile, and, like modeling agency owner who also died under mysterious circumstances in a French prison. Another guy who I guess got hit with the same sadness that Jeffrey Epstein had.
Confirmed to live in New York, was away for the holiday weekend. We did not have a good address, but an attempt was made in New York. Attempts are made to Maxwell today. Blank. You get it. Like, it's all the people they suspected this whole time are redacted, of course. And they say, I do not know about Ohio contacting Wexner. Now, that's a reference to Les Wexner, the former CEO of Victoria's Secret. This is huge. We've long suspected that he was, of course, one of the co-conspirators. And obviously, the fact the FBI suspected it isn't a 100% proof confirmation. But clearly, they were serving grand jury subpoenas. I mean, that must be who they're talking about, one wealthy businessman in Ohio, because later it's confirmed by this whole idea of Ohio contacting Wexner. And you can see at the bottom, this is from the FBI New York. When you get a chance, give me an update on the status of the 10 co-conspirators. This is really bad to know that we...
Interesting. 10 co-conspirators, everyone redacted. Why? One must ask the question, why?
As early as 2019, the right people to target, and yet our FBI, who's had evidence of this the entire time, or leads on it, has declined to prosecute, right? Because this is what the FBI now tells us. Oh, don't bother. Don't worry about it. That's what they wanted us to believe in July. Fast forward to December, we find out there's 10 guys that they knew about.
And it's not even 10. According to the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, there were 20 to 25 co-conspirators, which is also something that Thomas Massie presented as well. Thomas Massie talked about how there would be 25 co-conspirators that will be outed if these files are released. Thomas Massie arrived at that number by talking to the victims and the victims' lawyers.
Since like 6 years ago. It's insane. Even over here, we see that in one of the lawsuits, I believe this is with Maxwell, the government actually wanted to refer to people at trial as...
Is the Ohio guy Les Wexner? Yes. Yes. Les Wexner, the owner of L Brands, Victoria's Secret, and many others, who was basically like the domineering force in Ohio, is responsible for Jeffrey Epstein's, damn near entirety of Jeffrey Epstein's wealth, right? He pretty much owns Ohio. Okay. He gave Jeffrey Epstein power of attorney. He gave Jeffrey Epstein control over basically all of his wealth. He is the guy who gifted Jeffrey Epstein his Manhattan compound. And Jeffrey Epstein, according to DropSite's investigative reporting, was actually making incredibly important decisions on Les Wexner's charity. Many of the finances that directly went back to pro-Israel advocacy. For the record, just so you understand, Jeffrey Epstein was using the Les Wexner philanthropic funds that he was in charge of, that the actual philanthropy claimed Jeffrey Epstein had no control over, to make financial decisions about where a lot of the funds were going. And the majority of funds were going to pro-Israel charities.
Co-conspirators of the defendant, aka Maxwell, for the purposes of a rule. And then they say Jeffrey Epstein, and then there are two names listed there who are going to be listed as co-conspirators. Again, who are those people? We were told that the only co-conspirator now is Maxwell, and if you don't believe that, you're crazy, you're a conspiracy theorist. But back in 2020, this was an idea not just promulgated by wackos, it was promulgated by who? The FBI themselves, the Department of Justice. Look at this. Co-conspirator question transcript. This is from USA NYS. They say, question, when Jeffrey Epstein died, a lot of people asked, who's next? Is the government going to hold people who are accused of helping him recruit these girls? Are they going to hold them accountable? And then the answer is, well, I'll note that the original charges against Jeffrey Epstein contained a conspiracy charge, and we allege that there were conspirators involved. Jeffrey Epstein couldn't have done what he did without the assistance of others. And I can assure you that our investigation is moving forward, except I guess not. Against everyone except for Ghislaine Maxwell, it got killed. Like, Ghislaine Maxwell was the only one who faced justice, right? Except then she got moved to Club Fed, to this nice prison, right? And by the way, that a whole interesting interview we saw happen with Todd Blanche, which is Trump's former defense lawyer. So he got grilled on Meet the Press about his relationship. Like, why did Ghislaine Maxwell go to this nicer prison immediately afterwards? And while he declines to comment on it, he says something very interesting.
Why was she moved just days after you interviewed her, Mr. Blanche?
So that's a Bureau of Prisons security issue that I will not talk about.
Did you have anything to do with it? Did you have anything to do with it?
Let me finish. First of all, I am responsible for the Bureau of Prisons. So this
is why whenever people would ask me, like, what's a conspiracy theory that you believe in, I always responded with Jeffrey Epstein, but I don't think it's a conspiracy theory, but instead real. Okay? This is it. This is the reason. It's not a conspiracy theory necessarily. It's just a conspiracy to cover up a crime and to commit crimes.
Decision that they make lands on my desk to the extent it needs to. But just let me talk about the security issue. At the time that I met Miss Maxwell, there was a tremendous amount of scrutiny and publicity towards her. And the institution she was in, she was suffering numerous threats against her life. So the BOP is not only responsible for putting people in jail and making sure they stay in jail, but also for their safety.
All right, so he's like, yeah, that's crazy. No, I'm not going to talk about that. But every decision lands on my desk. I mean, eventually he goes on to say that, oh, she was in so much danger. We were worried about her safety as a prisoner. I just got to say, there's a lot of concern about Ghislaine Maxwell. All of a sudden, I don't know where that came from. There's not a lot of concern about these conspirators that I guess we've swept under the rug, that we don't care about anymore since 2019. I guess we knew about them and didn't care. And what's even more concerning is our president also seems concerned with the wrong people. Like, while Todd Blanche is concerned about Ghislaine Maxwell's safety and well-being, you've got Trump concerned about the people who are going to be unfairly implicated in the Jeffrey Epstein files, rather than worrying about how to catch the people that we obviously let go through the cracks.
The victims were protesting that too many of them were redacted.
I know there are a lot of people that are angry about all of the pictures of other people, but I think it's terrible. Look, I like Bill Clinton. I've always gotten along with Bill Clinton. I've been nice to him. He's been nice to me. We've always gotten along. Respect him. I hate to see photos come out of him, but this is what the Democrats most.
Again, bipartisanship has been unlocked. Okay, look at that. It's a big club and you ain't in it moment, okay? Yeah, all of a sudden, Trump is like, oh, it's really fucked up what they're doing to Bill Clinton, okay? Really, really messed up. A lot of innocents are getting called out here. Who amongst us has not found themselves alongside Jeffrey Epstein taking photos
Democrats
in hot
and a couple
tubs?
of bad Republicans are asking for, so they're giving their photos of me, too. Everybody was friendly with this guy. I think it's a terrible thing. I think Bill Clinton's a big boy. He can handle it, but...
Yeah, Clinton really did say, I hate you, let's die. That's true. He did. He said mutually assured destruction. As I said, could potentially happen. Now, do I think Bill is going to push it further? Probably not. I think this is the reason why Trump is backing away from the Clinton involvement. Being like, see, Clinton wasn't involved at all. A very good guy, big penis. Everyone says big, beautiful Bill. I say big, beautiful Bill.
You probably have pictures being exposed of other people that innocently met Jeffrey Epstein years ago, many years ago.
Now, I'll be honest, he gets off track from here, but the point he was making is that those poor, innocent, bankers who were meeting with Epstein, the poor lawyers who were meeting with Epstein, like all of Epstein's friends are just caught up in this unfortunate thing. And it's just such a reversal of what previously the DOJ and FBI believed. In fact, they believed it so much that they got a federal search warrant for the SDNY, and they got it, and part of the seizable data, part of the stuff that they commanded them to seize as part of the search warrant, which, by the way, I think you need some kind of like standard of evidence for. I'm not a lawyer, you guys can chime in, but you can't just get a search warrant without some kind of evidence that you believe there's a crime that's been committed. And part of it says evidence concerning the identity or location of co-conspirators of Jeffrey Epstein, including blank and Ghislaine Maxwell. So again, who is blank? Well, they keep redacting the names of these co-conspirators, uncharged, remember, and now they're saying we have no evidence to charge anybody. Clearly, they had evidence for a search warrant, and it's just completely ridiculous that some of this stuff is redacted and that we're viewing the rich and powerful people who are mentioned as the victims here. Now, that's all I want to talk about for now. Remember, this is a developed...
Insane. They're dabbing on us, okay? They're fucking dabbing on us. Here's some other, parts of the newly uncovered trove of data. There's obviously the Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein, notified the FBI in 2023 that Jeffrey Epstein was killed because he was ready to name names. And he adds that his death was authorized by Donald Trump. Okay. The submitted text: Jeffrey Epstein was murdered in his jail cell. I have reason to believe he was killed because he was about to name names. I believe President Trump authorized his murder. That in and of itself is not that unique. I feel like he has done this before. But there's other stuff in here. There's other stuff in here about random tips that people are leaning into, and I want people to exercise a little bit of caution. Okay? Just as I warned you about the supposed postcard that Jeffrey Epstein had sent to Larry Nassar randomly, postmarked 3 days after he had died, with a stamp that Jeffrey Epstein did not have access to, without his intake number, which I think makes it impossible, right? Without the Epstein like prisoner intake number, that means it's most likely not coming from Jeffrey Epstein directly to Larry Nassar. There are some of these other tips that have come out that look a little weird, okay? And I've seen a lot of people jump on that, on the tips, not realizing that a lot of the tips that they have in these files, not all of them are credible, okay? Some of these are going to be unsubstantiated. Here's Gumby for Christ talking about one of them. In the latest Epstein drop, there are a bunch of ranty, expletive-laden tip emails sent to the Department of Justice by someone named Chris Delorio. My question: why does this guy, basically just a random crank, get his name splashed all over the files while the DOJ lawyers get protected by redaction? I'm so fucking good, I even impress myself. So who has greenlighted the milk and degenerate fat Leon Black / APO and the degenerate Steve Schwartzman BX takeover the insurance industry? Individual states regulators, sure, but there seems to be a monumental disagreement between the Trump White House and states today. More to it, abso-fucking-lutely. Okay? Chris Delorio's name is not redacted here, right? Trump junk. Today, because of coronavirus, Trump and other milk and degenerate Treasury Secretary Mnuchin are bailing out high-yield junk. Milk and degenerate flunkies, Fat Leon, Handler, blah, 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 all this stuff. All of these emails that were sent to I guess, to the tip line of the FBI, or we don't even know it, because even the fucking investigators that receive these emails are actually redacted here, that connect Jeffrey Epstein to Trump affiliates, right, and to Trump himself personally, from what it seems like is not the most credible witness, is just a guy on the internet tying shit together, is unredacted. Not positive, but it seems like this may be the same Delorio who heads up Shonda Rhimes' production company, you know, the TV producer who created a show about crisis management firm that helps the rich and powerful cover up their scandals. So, I mean, it just seems like manic ramblings, and yet they showed the name. They did not redact the name, and they show the manic ramblings. There are other tips that the tip line received that will invite a lot of people to pay attention to it. Okay, that will welcome a lot of given that there is a high profile involvement specifically with Donald Trump, but you have to be a little bit more careful when you're looking at some of these tips. That not all of these tips are going to be credible. Okay, because it's not like even the release of this stuff, unless it's a deliberate unredacted name, for example, as opposed to all these other redacted names. The release of stuff like this is sometimes going to be circumstantial. Like they're releasing everything. And of course, there's going to be FBI tip line. The FBI tip line is going to be inundated with like cranks and things like that. Okay, secondhand testimony, secondhand accounts that were found to be not very credible. This is one of those, I think. I previously provided a tip about 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, under an alias I have for myself. Redacted all the other details of the previous tip, matched the information given in today's tip, except I'm giving my real name. A detective from NYPD FBI Sex Trafficking Task Force called me a couple weeks ago from the 212 area code number. I talked to him for about 20 to 30 minutes about my being sex trafficked by my uncle and Jeffrey Epstein in 1984 while I was 13 and pregnant. I told him some other information. I don't know if this is one of the not so credible ones, but where can I contact him? I would also like to have his name and contact information. I would also like to know if there will be any further follow-up. When did the crime occur? May, September 1984. Additional information. I am just wanting to reconnect with the original detective that called me, and I offered information about this. How was contact known? He was orchestrating a deal along with my uncle where different men and a few women and girls would come to a variety of boats and yachts and pay money to force me to do redacted with them when I was 13 and pregnant. Additional information. Again, just trying to find out the NYPD detective on the FBI Sex Trafficking Task Force that called me a couple weeks ago and spoke to me about some of these issues. He participated regularly in paying money to force me to redacted with him, and he was present when my uncle murdered my newborn child and disposed of the body in Lake Michigan. Okay? So, Trump named above that. Where is the Trump name? Last name Trump. Here it is. First name Donald, witness information. First name Donald, last name Trump, age 70. Like this claim is that Donald Trump was victim to or potentially a participant in these crimes that took place on yachts. Yes, he raped a 13-year-old pregnant girl, witnessed the murder of her newborn, and oversaw its dumping into Lake Michigan. I'm saying that, like, that might not be like this is an FBI tip. Okay. Is unconfirmed is what I'm saying. Sometimes people will, dive into unconfirmed tips because they don't understand how this stuff works. Virtually everyone can make an unsubstantiated claim to the FBI tip line. Okay. The White House would like to make it seem impossible to tell what's credible. Yeah. And I think the goal here, obviously, is to obfuscate the truth. The White House would like to make it seem impossible to tell what's credible versus what isn't credible, and they will happily shape this release to try to discredit responsible journalists trying in good faith to report accurately and evenly about what's included in the docs. This is precisely the reason why I was saying you have to be very, very careful with the way that you deal with the information that is coming out. Do you work for the admin now? No, it's actually the exact opposite. This is the reason why I was very suspicious about the Larry Nassar postcard. Now a lot of people believe the Larry Nassar postcard was valid, but that Larry Nassar postcard, if valid, is probably the closest to hard evidence that Jeffrey Epstein was on the verge of suicide. Okay? Do you understand? While the administration is very incompetent, they might have lucked into this release of a batch of files where people like dive into pieces of information that confirms their biases and maybe report on it without recognizing that, there are suspicious elements. This will actually make them look less credible in the reporting on all of the Epstein files, which is precisely the reason why you have to be very careful. Okay, bro, playing defense for Trump now? Oh my God. Ay, ay, ay. This is a rage bait, right? Like, this has to be rage bait. This morning, the Department of Justice tweeted that some Trump allegations in today's batch were false, no specificity, and they decided to specify this letter hours later. FBI requested a forensic handwriting analysis in 2020, but DOJ's new tweet explaining its conclusion doesn't cite an analysis. Yeah, you had the White House deputy press secretary immediately used as a fucking slam dunk. Now, will it actually work? Will it actually work? Okay. Probably not, because in this media environment, lying or leaning into conspiracy kind of works better than trying to arrive at the truth. Applying scrutiny, even when you're applying scrutiny to something that a piece of information that actually suits your purposes, right? I will not be doing that, even if it's beneficial. Okay? I will not be doing that even if it's beneficial, just like I didn't lean into, Israel definitely killed Charlie Kirk when, I am the number one hater of Israel, and this would have actually suited my purposes quite well if I were to lean into the notion that Charlie Kirk was definitely assassinated by the state of Israel. A lot of people believe it now, and it's out of my hands. But at the time, as I said over and over again, I don't think there's enough evidence, with the exception of the very weird, the very weird release from Benjamin Netanyahu, right? It's the new Jeffrey Epstein jet. Kristi Noem posting a fun video in front of a caged, tatted men. Look at how Barry Weiss of the Free Press wrote about CCOT, the El Salvador mega prison Trump shipped people to, just months before she stopped the 60-minute segment on it. Yeah. The hottest campaign to stop is this Salvadoran Supermax. I agree that the letters and tips aren't proof enough. No, I'm just saying, like, there are going to be incredible claims that, of course, are a part of the tranche of data that comes out, and then there's going to be some very there's also going to be some very serious accusations that are verifiable. The ones that actually have significant redactions will be the stop defending pedos. It's true. Stop shielding Trump, you stupid bastard. You don't know what you're talking about. Bro, just let the accusations against Trump go. Stop defending a man that you know for a certain is a child rapist. Wait, what? Brother, I need you to calm down, okay? I need you to calm down. This is not a defense of Donald Trump. There's never been a moment in my life where I've defended Donald Trump. Shut the fuck up. I'm saying that you have to be more careful when dealing with shit that's in an FBI tip line. It's like when conservatives that broached into the realm of conspiracy during the peak of COVID would look at the VAERS reporting tool to identify vaccine injuries. That's a self-reported tool. Anyone and everyone can write that they were injured by the fucking vaccine. Okay? FBI tip line is one of the easiest ways to identify cranks. Okay? Calm down. This is not about defending Donald Trump. I think it's important to stay vigilant is all I'm saying. It's not like you're dying on this hill and spend all your energy and time pushing back against these conspiracies. If people want to believe it, who cares? Exactly. Anyway, I would choose to, worry more about the actual things that we know the Department of Justice is redacting to protect people. Okay? Like, for example, earlier this year, Kash Patel testified under oath that internal files contained no credible information Epstein trafficked young women to anyone other than himself.
If anyone did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself?
Himself. There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would
This was a fucking lie. He perjured himself. He lied under oath.
Bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer...
Which is crazy because, like, why would you lie about this? It's right there. It's right there in the fucking files, dumbass.
There is no one
For the information that we have
in the files.
in the case file.
Who, if
Yeah, here it is. Straight from the fucking case, okay? There it is. If you want to see it, it's there for the taking. Right here. Of the 10 co-conspirators, 3 have been located in Florida. Several served GJ subpoenas. 1 in Boston, 1 in New York City, and 1 in Connecticut were located and served. 4 of the 10 are outstanding with attempts having been made. 1 is a wealthy businessman in Ohio. A lead is being sent to CV. The remaining 3 are currently out of pocket. The team, 8 SAs/TFOs, 2 AUSA attorneys of the United States of America, is flying out tomorrow. Special agents, 8 special agents. I don't know. What is a TFO? To various locations in Florida, interview approximately 25 victims. We received approximately 45 calls. Task force officer. Oh, thank you. We received approximately 45 calls, which are in the process of vetting out. Let me know if you need anything else. Good morning. Redacted. A/SC redacted is requesting an update on the 10 co-conspirators by COB today. Can you tell us how many have been successfully located, interviewed, served with GJs? I believe the breakdown was 5 in New York, 1 in North Carolina, 1 in Boston, and 3 in Florida. Please let me know if you need anything from us. Also, Epstein's bail argument is due to the judge on Thursday. The actual bail hearing will be on Monday. Grand jury subpoenas. So that was a fucking lie. Also, on top of that, who are the co-conspirators? Why are their names not being shown in the files? Okay. There are 1,200 victims. Many of them have lawyers. Here's another question from the redaction, okay, from Julie K. Brown. This is what the Department of Justice's next charges and investigative steps were. Remember that Bondi and Patel said there was nothing to see here. So then why is it redacted? Why don't you just copy and paste it to remove the redaction? Not all of the copy and pastable redactions are actually copy and pastable and unredacted. I also saw photos in the latest release of adult men whose faces were redacted as the DOJ alleging that these men were also victims of Epstein too. That's it. Was there a caveat in the law that said that if individuals under investigation could be redacted? I mean, we know that one of the ways in which they tried to cast doubt or one of the ways in which they tried to add additional redactions was to claim that there's investigations going on, but Bill Clinton is unredacted. And Donald Trump did direct the attorney generals to prosecute all Democrats involved with Jeffrey Epstein. Bill Clinton is a Democrat involved with Jeffrey Epstein, and they didn't fucking redact him. So I think, judging by what Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, former defense attorney for Donald Trump, what he said in his memo that he sent out to Republicans is that they are redacting members, high-profile individuals of national importance and politically important figures, right? So that is the specification that they're using to just redact willy-nilly, okay? Even if redacted for investigation, they're required by law to give a summary and reasoning to ask the redaction. Exactly. Wait, someone had a good point. If Epstein blackmailed people, they could be considered victims? I don't think so. I think that's fucking insane. I mean, that's an insane reasoning for it. I joked about how that would be the reason for it. That would be pretty crazy. Okay. Plus, they don't even mention their reasoning for redactions, even though the letter of the law very clearly dictates that they must mention why they are redacting certain names. This is Jacqueline Sweet. She and Thomas Volshow found an Epstein case document uploaded to the DOJ site that has not been released in any of the drops yet. It appears to be a pretrial email chain about Ghislaine Maxwell's defense team asking prosecutors to confirm all the nude or semi-nude evidence seized from Epstein's property for their review. The March 15, 2021 letter describes the nude/partially nude, highly confidential images as seized from Epstein's U.S. Virgin Islands and New York residences and images and videos seized from Epstein's devices. The prosecutors do not offer a total count of how many of these images exist. The defense team also asked for a full list of physical evidence from the Florida and New York FBI investigations and wants several laptops for the defense team to review all the confidential imagery. Celebrite in the email may be a reference to the Israeli digital forensics firm, Celebrite, the firm that reportedly tracked Thomas Crooks' phone for the FBI. This is the least shocking turn of events, of course, that the American intelligence communities are using espionage tools developed by the Israeli state, Celebrite being one of them. If you recall, the Stingray tool was also adopted by the Department of Homeland Security, specifically by ICE, this past year, under Trump's watchful eye. So, this is one of the many different things that we purchased from Israel. Mass surveillance, to do mass surveillance on regular American citizens. Again, the important point to always point to is that any and all redactions must be explained and given a reason for redaction that needs to be stated every time. Yes. Yeah. New comically redacted ICE justification to buy more sole source Celebrite universal forensic extraction devices. This is from September 26, 2025. Demonstration that the nature of the acquisition requires the use of authority cited. ICE OAQ intends to procure Celebrite products and services, a brand name requirement utilized by C3 for its digital forensics hardware and software tool capabilities. All levels of law enforcement utilize Israeli surveillance technology, such as spyware. There's also more comprehensive and illegal spyware that we both tell Israel not to use and not to deploy, but then also have potentially used. Like Pegasus is the most aggressive version of this that we know of, at least. Pegasus is the one that allegedly Mohammed bin Salman used on Jeff Bezos, that outed Jeff Bezos for cheating on his wife at the time, if you recall. It's literally like a no-touch, no-click spyware that is a zero-click spyware that basically has the capability of tapping into your phone, mirroring it, and it's so comprehensive and so scary that the American government has told the Israeli government to not use it and not sell it, and yet we also use it. Pegasus was also used by the Hungarian government on journalists. Yes, virtually all governments around the world have purchased Pegasus at a different time. I believe that currently some of those exploits have been fixed. I think that's the reason why at least civil rights lawyers would tell you to get the latest version of the iPhone. Oftentimes, if you don't have one of the latest versions of the iPhone, you will be they can still use Pegasus on your phone. But even then, they're constantly looking for new exploits. Yes, Mexico also purchased it. This was one of the other ones that this was one of the other pieces of personal tips that came out about Donald Trump. This redacted person asked about his time driving for a limousine for 2 years in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. During redacted time as a driver, he had met Donald Trump, noted he picked up President Trump in 1995 and took him to the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. Redacted reports some of the things President Trump has spoken along the ride while on his cell phone that were very concerning. Reported he was a few seconds from pulling the limousine over in the median, and within a few seconds of pulling him out of the car and hurting him due to some of the things he was saying, his caller chose not to. Noted Trump continuously stated the name Jeffrey while on the phone and made reference to abusing some girls. Redacted was unsure who he was talking to, nor who he was referencing. As Redacted talked about his time meeting Donald Trump, immediately Redacted's demeanor went stone cold. As Redacted stated, he raped me. Redacted said, what? As Redacted replied, Donald J. Trump had raped her along with Jeffrey Epstein. Redacted noticed some girl with a funny name. Took me into a fancy hotel or building. That's how it happened. Redacted advised Redacted to call the police regarding the incident. As Redacted stated, I can't, they will kill me. On Christmas Day, Redacted contacted Redacted, stated she had in fact called the police about what they had talked about. Redacted told Redacted she had done good. Redacted did not hear from Redacted or Redacted until January 10th, 2000. Redacted reached out to Redacted stating Redacted was dead and noticed she was found with her head blown off in Kiefer, Oklahoma. Officers on the scene and Redacted stated there was no way it was suicide. Coroner believed it was a suicide. Redacted later stated Redacted committed suicide because Redacted had gotten cocaine from a Mexican drug cartel. Redacted feels the murder is a cover for Ghislaine. So this one is a secondhand account. And I don't know if it links to any known instance in like a known suicide from that same time and place in Kiefer, Oklahoma, or anything like that. But from what I understand, this person has made like there's no additional verification on these claims, is what I'm saying. This is not a defense of Donald Trump or cover up of Donald Trump, but as it stands currently, there is no additional information that's come out on this. Who is this redacted person? They seem to be everywhere. Can be anyone and everyone at any given moment. What happens next? I mean, we just wait for more information to come out and try to parse through it. But for the time being, let's look at the polls. Do you think Trump was involved in crimes committed by Epstein? Asked by all, 46% say yes, only 30% say no. Among Trump voters, no is at 66% and yes is at 12%. That is crazy. Okay? Remember, when you see Trump supporters polling on this, you need to understand something. Among Trump voters, this should be 99%, especially an issue like this. I know it's easy to say it's a cult. It is a cult. But you need to understand, you know what cult members are not famous for? Pulling away in any meaningful capacity from the cult leader. This, to me, is an indication that despite the MAGA cult, despite the cult-like appeal for Donald Trump, there are still at least 12% who are unconditionally stating yes, which is huge. Okay? And plenty of people who are unsure that are not responding. You need to understand something. This is Donald Trump's weakest issue for his own base. Donald Trump does not receive marks below 80% approval on anything except for his mishandling of the Epstein files. Okay? That is the one where Republicans, whether they think he's criminally liable or not, have stated their disapproval and distaste on. And as time continues and as more information comes out like this, more and more people will shift on this, okay? The very fact that there is at least 12% that say Trump is criminally responsible for, or Trump was involved in crimes alongside Jeffrey Epstein is a remarkable percentage.
There have been public statements asserting that there are over 1 million pages of documents. We have seen roughly 10% of that million pages.
Because remember, those are not independents. Those are not independents that voted for Trump. Those are Republican Trump voters. A group of individuals that say Trump is doing everything right by 90% on every other issue, no matter how unpopular it is.
Should be redacted from key sections of the documents relating to the circumstances of the negotiation of the sweetheart deal and the concealment of that deal from victims just makes no sense at all. It is clearly in direct violation of the congressional mandate received by the Department of Justice, and it is, from the victim's perspective, a continuation of their victimization. The slow drip release of documents is Chinese water torture for these women who have been terribly victimized by Epstein and are being re-victimized over the course of the last 2 decades by the federal government.
Has there been any communication? Have you had any communication or outreach from the Justice Department as the initial stages of this process have rolled out?
I have been in communication with the Justice Department on multiple occasions. The most recent was a letter that I received on Thursday, late morning, just before noon, the day before the mandated release of these documents. And that letter requested that I inform the Justice Department of those victims who chose to maintain their privacy rights and have their names redacted from the release that was scheduled the very next day. We were given until 5 o'clock on Thursday in order to respond, or the Justice Department informed us that it would be presumed that the victims' rights to privacy were being waived. Now, that just turns the entire system upside down. These victims have an absolute statutory right to privacy that should be presumed to be asserted by them unless there is a clear affirmative waiver. And we know that that principle was significantly violated by the release of names that never should have been released. Now, there have been some corrections that have been made, but the mistakes never should have been made to begin with. The Justice Department has had months since they claim to have completed a review of these files in July.
Vice President J.D. Vance says he recently did a 90-minute workout. That's a long time. He carried logs. He climbed ropes.
Wow.
He ran along the beach, and it left.
Wow, the vice president carried logs? Wow. Wow. That's cool. Wow.
And Jack Squirrel, really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your continued focus on these important issues.
Yeah, who cares about flight logs? How about the vice president carrying real logs? What is this? Oh. Do you think Gavin will actually lock these clowns up? I don't know, but anyone who promises to do so will win tremendous favor. Okay? Tremendous favor. Fucking up the algo when you search JD Vance and logs, Elon Musk classic. No, I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's just the if you're gonna use this video, you gotta use it. You gotta use the one with the door chime at the start.
Hey, you know they got your mans. They got your mans on sex assault charges. Yeah, the nigga you be hanging with. The nigga you be hanging with. Oh, it's sex offender. And it was your mans. He was your boy. I heard you grew up with him. That's crazy, man. You ain't know what he was doing? You ain't feel bad at all? Like, no guilt, none of that shit fuck with you? Cause your man's his whole ass. Never. That's Kels. That's your man. Kels.
What possible interest would the U.S. government have in keeping Epstein's clients a secret? Oh, Jack Posobiec. Are you paying attention yet? The DOJ and Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyers have made a deal that her little black book of contacts will never be made public. J.D. Vance, if you're a journalist and you're not asking questions about this case, you should be ashamed of yourself. What purpose do you even serve? I'm sure there's a middle-class teenager somewhere who could use some harassing right now, but maybe try to do your job once in a while. Oh, how the turntables, baby. Oh, how the turntables. Yeah, what happened? Dort. What happened? He wrote Hillbilly Elegy, respect his authority. I'm just saying, it's kind of strange, don't you think? Kind of strange. All these guys, they all turned real quiet. Jack Posobiec being one of them too. What happened to all the people that were running around with the files that the Department of Justice released? They were celebrating on the day of the release. Awfully quiet. Awfully fucking quiet. And yes, as we were talking about earlier, some of the DOJ's redactions on the Epstein files weren't redacted correctly and can be unredacted and seen. I'll explain the process at the end of this thread. Unredacted version of below redactions. Defendants Khan and Indike controlled and directed the activities of other entities and personal bank accounts of Epstein accounts after they were funded. One, and frequently both of them, were officers or directors of Butterfly Trust, of companies holding Epstein's real property as laid out below, and of Financial Strategy Group Limited, Financial Trust Inc., FT Real Estate, Gratitude America Inc., Hyperion Air Inc., Jeffrey Epstein Virgin Islands Foundation Inc., Jeepers Inc., Mort Inc., Nautilus Inc., and Zora Development Corporation, among others. And as you can see, some of the incorporated companies were redacted here, but they were then unredacted. Here's another unredacted. Wait, no way that's true, brother. Wait, what? What do you mean ain't no way that's true? Are you saying that because you think it's too stupid to be real? No, you can literally do it. Do you want me to go and do it myself personally? Some of these documents were not actually redacted appropriately. Not all of them. You can't unredact every single thing, but there are plenty of documents that you can actually unredact. Here is a video on it.
I'm at justice.gov where all the Epstein files are being held, and there's a lot of different files that have been redacted. So you can go ahead and scroll down till you get to a redacted area. Here's a redacted area right here. Guess what? If you want to look at these files, all you got to do is copy it and paste it into Microsoft Word, and guess what? All the files are unredacted. There it is. So go back to justice.org, find all those files, and start unredacting before they figure out how to stop you.
Essentially, they use the black highlighter function on the text instead of actually replacing the text with black. And for the record, it's not all the files, obviously. It's not all the files. It's just some. They had the top minds at the FBI working on this day in, day out. And here is the result. Oh, man. People examining documents released by the Department of Justice in the Jeffrey Epstein case discovered that some of the file redaction can be undone with Photoshop techniques or by simply highlighting the text and pasting it into a word processing file. Okay? Depending on what method of redaction was used, there are ways of getting around it. People examining the documents released by the Department of Justice in the Jeffrey Epstein case discovered that some of the file redaction can be undone with Photoshop techniques. Unredacted text from these documents began circulating through social media on Monday evening. An exhibit in a civil case in the Virgin Islands against Darren K. Indyke and Richard D. Kahn, two executors of Epstein's estate, contains redacted allegations explaining how Epstein and associates had facilitated the sexual abuse of children. The exhibit was second amended complaint in the state case against Indyke and Kahn. In Section 85, the redacted portion states, between September 2015 and June 2019, Indyke signed FAC for over $400,000 made payable to young female models and actresses, including a former Russian model who received over $380,000 through monthly payments of $8,333, made over a period of more than 3.5 years until the middle of 2019. Prosecutors in the Virgin Islands settled a civil sex trafficking case against Epstein's estate, Indyke and Kahn, in 2022 for $105 million, plus one half of the proceeds from the sale of Little St. James, the island on which Epstein resided and on which many of his crimes occurred. The Justice Department press release announcing the settlement did not include an admission of liability. Oh yeah, Trump is also on CBS tonight. Guys. Before I forget. While you guys might be focusing on, boo, Jeffrey Epstein, boring, who cares? Are you still talking about Jeffrey? Nobody cares about Jeffrey Epstein. Come on now. Who cares about Jeffrey Epstein? What is Donald Trump doing? Oh, that's right. Donald Trump is honoring himself. The Trump Kennedy Center Honors will be broadcast tonight on CBS and stream on Paramount Plus. Tune in at 8 p.m. Eastern. At the request of the board and just about everybody else in America, I am hosting the event. Everyone was asking, Mr. President, can you actually rename the Kennedy Center in your name and then also host this event on the now different billionaire-owned, pro-Trump billionaire-owned network, CBS and Paramount Plus? Thank God you're doing this. Everyone was asking for it. Tell me what you think of my master of ceremony abilities. If really good, would you like me to leave the presidency in order to make hosting a full-time job? We will be honoring true greats in the history of entertainment: Sylvester Stallone, Michael Crawford, Kiss, George Strait, and Gloria Gaynor. I like that there's a little bit of a, I guess you guys all hate me moment in here too, where he's like, oh, many people are saying maybe I should do a swift exit from the presidency to become a master of ceremony toaster. A hoster and toaster. Come on, I'll do it. Yeah, who want me? No one as post. Exactly. What a spectacular moment for both CBS and Donald Trump. Once again, shouts out to Barry Weiss, okay? Barry Weiss only yesterday. Censoring the CCOT investigation that 60 Minutes conducted, only to have a shit ton of scrutiny from every single person who hates Barry Weiss in the media, including people that work under Barry Weiss now, to turn around and showcase once again what her true intentions are, which is to defend Donald Trump. Defend Donald Trump, defend the Trump administration, try to obfuscate the truth, try to focus people's attention on, low priority nonsense. Really reading the room for both Barry and Trump. This is definitely what people want to see. As a person who's partaken and has friends in the industry, kissing ass, nepotism, cronyism is rampant in the industry. However, news is supposed to be somewhat an exemption from this. People that have to do years of grunt work before ever being on camera. Her getting the celebrity treatment is one way to piss everyone off. I mean, there's still a bunch of ass kissing, as I was talking about, a bunch of dick sucking, as I said yesterday, on Dick Suck Mountain in order to, eventually reach the highest of peaks. Except Barry Weiss basically kissed the right asses early on, billionaire asses, and was able to, elevate herself with no real talent whatsoever beyond finding the right asses to kiss. I kind of like watching Barry eat shit every day because she sucks at everything. No, it's awesome. Especially because she's supposed to be the top propagandist, right? Like, you're getting into this, you're playing a role where a lot of attention is on you, okay? You have a very important role, which is propagandizing at the behest of Trump at a time when everyone fucking hates him and wants him to eat shit, okay? And if you don't put a competent person in charge of making CBS News infinitely more pliant to Trump's demands, turning CBS News into a more credible version of Fox News, basically, slowly but surely, the incompetence is, just like with the Kash Patel situation at the FBI, the incompetence is going to be the story in and of itself. All right? I mean, we're seeing it everywhere. If you hire loyalists because your goal is to have an administration full of fucking loyalists, then those loyalists are going to fuck things up all the time because they weren't hired for competence. They were hired for loyalty. And the same goes for Barry Weiss. Of course, Atlantic writers are defending Barry Weiss. Many, not all, at the magazine have the same stance as her. Nominal centrist, rhetorically disdainful of Trump, but advancing a substantive politics that is profoundly reactionary. Abso-fucking-lutely. Anyway, let's look at some of the files on the Jeffrey Jedediah Epstein and see what we can unredact now, aside from what the media has already covered. She's going to fire everyone and hire Ben Shapiro and Thomas Friedman. Scoop, Barry Weiss plans to overhaul CBS News and 60-minute standards and procedures. Yeah, we know. Yeah, she wants to find a reasonable, tolerant, liberal adjacent right-wing pivot here. But what she does not understand is that conservatives are successful because they lean into market demands, and the market demands more misdirection and conspiracy. So if your goal is to try and create a competent product that is going to defend Donald Trump, you can't actually have conservatives that have fallen out of favor with the base because they would not lean into the market demands, especially on the issue of Israel. That's a major point of contention. That's a major reason as to why Ben Shapiro has, lost a lot of relevance over the years, right? But yeah, getting back to Jeffrey Epstein and the unredacted files, other sections further allege how Epstein's enterprise concealed crimes. Defendants, again, ask yourself, anytime I read a paragraph, ask yourself why this was redacted to begin with. Defendants also attempted to conceal their criminal sex trafficking and abuse conduct by paying large sums of money to participant witnesses, including by paying for their attorney's fees and case costs in litigation related to this conduct. Reads one redacted passage. What the fuck does that have to do with outing victims? Here's another one. Epstein also threatened to harm victims and help release damaging stories about them to damage their credibility when they tried to go public with their stories of being trafficked and sexually abused. Epstein also instructed one or more Epstein Enterprise participant witnesses to destroy evidence relevant to ongoing court proceedings involving defendants' criminal sex trafficking and abuse conduct. Redactions of sections 184 through 192 of the document describe property taxes paid by companies incorporated by Epstein on properties that were not on the balance sheet for those firms. Do you see what the White House is doing right now? Wait, is this live? Lo-fi criminal alien naughty list? The worst of the worst lo-fi edition, no Coldridge deportation? Bro, you should be on the list. You should be on the naughty list, motherfucker. You and all your homies should be on the naughty list. That's so crazy. You can redact this document in Google Docs. Apollo, Epstein, Kushner connection. Oh, we already read this. We read this already. I went through this already. This was Chris DeLorio sending like a random tip. It's he's manic. Like all this stuff is just like totally manic. And yeah, you don't even need Google Docs. Honestly, here, this is how easy it's done. Look. Boom. Okay. Copy. And then let's notepad it. Let's open up a notepad here. What the fuck is this? Oh, here it is. Let's see if it works. Wait, nope. It didn't work on the notepad. You have to open it in Adobe Reader. Okay, I'll do it on Word. Control Alt C, open a Word doc. This will become a criminal offense in the next week. This is how they'll get you, Hassan. Okay. I think they patched the bug finally. No, I don't think they did. I don't think they have yet. We've also seen no. We've also seen, it's not every document, but we have already seen the unredacted version of this document at least, or not all, the unredacted version, but this is was it Control Alt copy? Let me put it on Google Drive on a new Google Doc. Let's see if it works on there. No, it's not working on there either. It's not. Control Shift V. No, it's not working. That one is not. Bro's definitely working. Not every single fucking file is unredactable, okay? But it might be also because wait, let's see. So we tried it on the website directly and it didn't work. Okay? Now let's download it real quick and see if it works if you download it, right? Now let's see. Okay, hold on. I want to open it but not on a browser. What the fuck? You sent me a Google Doc link that demands me to sign on with my email, chatter. I'm not doing that. I had a friend try and copy paste from PDF in Chrome, and Chrome wouldn't let him. It was just regular text. Other Firefox might. Bro thinks he's Mecha Man doing tech shit. Download it and then copy and paste it into Word. I downloaded it, but I don't have a reader to actually open it. Like I don't have a PDF reader. You feel me? Where is it? Oh, here it is. Open with. Yeah, I don't have like Adobe or anything like a PDF reader to find the PDFs. Okay, I'll download the Adobe Acrobat Reader. I'm downloading it. Okay? I'm downloading it, and I'm installing it. Everybody calm down. Installation in progress. There it is. I'm surprised people haven't already done this, like across the board to all of the files that are redactable. You know what I mean? Does anyone have links to people that have already unredacted some of the redactable files? Uncheck when everything is computer bites you in the ass. You might need Adobe Pro. What is this? Crassencast. What the fuck is Crassencast?
Redacted. So the Trump administration is so incompetent that they use the improper formatting.
Okay, we already covered this on their Twitter. Yeah, unredacted versions, but that's just one. Epstein files, unredacted files show bribery and payouts, silence victims and witnesses. DOJ used Adobe to redact some of the files that can be undone by copying, pasting, and searching. Here they are. Yeah, there's a lot of Trump that's in there. 900 pages here. I linked it. Oh, these are all unredacted. Is that what you're saying? Ghislaine Maxwell, I'm out of my depth in understanding defamation and other legal hazards and don't want to end up in a lawsuit aimed at me from anyone if I can help it. Apparently, even saying Virginia is a liar has hazard. I have never been in a suit, criminal or civil, and wanted to stay that way. U.S. lawyers for the Jane Doe files are filing additional discovery motions, and if I speak, I open myself to being a part of the discovery. Apparently, I am trying to stay out of litigation and not have to employ. Okay, so the thing is, the question I have is, why the fuck would this be redacted? The other question is, when are they going to make this easy to read, showing with a highlighter exactly what they redacted? I'm trying to stay out of litigation and not have to employ lawyers for years. I got lost in U.S. legal nightmare. I stand no legal risk currently on these old charges and civil suits against Jeffrey. We need to consult with U.S. lawyers on my statement I make and the complaints too. This is from 2015. This is before the second Jeffrey Epstein trial took place. This is her saying and Jeffrey Epstein's still alive at this point. obviously, and there is not like a lot of there's not a suspicion that like it will reopen at any point. And she's talking about perhaps we make a statement of the legal risk saying anything for potential defamation or something that prevents a full and frank detailed rebuttal, plus the press not being in place for that. Regardless, Philip, please call Jeffrey lawyer and see what you can understand from him and perhaps craft something in conjunction with him. Either way, I think you need to speak to him to understand my risk so you can help me understand it too. Understand it. Too many cooks in the kitchen and I can't make good decisions. Please reach out to him today. I have already suffered such a terrible and painful loss over the last few days and I can't even see what life after press Hill even looks like. Statements that don't address all just lead to more questions. What is my relationship to Clinton? Andrew, on and on. No rest till Monday. I need headspace. Oh, so this is back when she was on the Terramar project, which the Clinton Foundation was linked to. And this is her being concerned that her personal associations with the Clintons are going to invite scrutiny into, her work in trafficking pedophiles, trafficking minors for pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. What the fuck is happening, bro? Check my logs. I have the document linked there. Did it install McAfee on my fucking computer? I'm going to lose my mind. Did it literally auto install McAfee antivirus? Fuck! I think we should be able to jail people that forcibly force McAfee as an unrelated file when you do default installs. I have to throw this computer in the fucking trash. What's wrong with McAfee? It's basically fucking malware, dude. Literally, this is just malware, okay? What just happened in front of 37,000 people is I just got hacked, pretty much. All of these fucking dumbass antiviruses are basically, oh, dude, look, immediately, just right as I started talking. McAfee is already installed now. It's already fucking on the computer. It's already working. It's already working as magic, baby. Look at that. Fantastic. Thank you. I don't want that, actually. I don't want that at all. What the fuck? And you can't even, and the McAfee one is like so awful that it's like impossible to fucking, it's impossible to kill. I'm looking for it right now. Oh, there it is. Okay, I ended the task for McAfee. I hope it actually ended it. I doubt that it actually ended it. We'll see. Off a task force. I'm trying to uninstall it. McAfee Security Scam Plus. Uninstall. Let's see if it actually uninstalls it. What? Uninstall will miss you. Fuck you, McAfee. But you checked install. Bitch, I didn't look. Use third-party uninstall tool. Don't directly uninstall. McAfee is an asshole. Yeah. No, it's basically the same as it's basically the same as malware. I'm not even kidding. I think you should be thrown in prison. There are literal third-party tools specifically designed to forcibly uninstall McAfee from your computer because it's impossible. Do a wipe back to the most previous backup. It'll save you time and effort. Deleting it or ending it won't work. Isn't it crazy that everybody knows that this antivirus software is basically malware, is basically virus, a virus it's in and of itself?
Damn, this guy's good.